stuff like that. And the name moves me now. Help me with that one, Roger. Paul Revere. And the Rangers was the last one that he worked for. And Paul told Roger, if you really want to make a difference in the world, there's somebody that you can change your focus, quit working on these bands, and start working in tourism. And he said, there's somebody in Canada that could really, really use your help. And that somebody was Whistler. And he went there and helped develop Whistler Mountain, and you know what Whistler is today, how big it is and how much of a destination it is. And so that's where he started out and started there. And since then, he's worked all over internationally in the US and in Canada. And more importantly, in Alberta, he's worked in 60 different communities that has made, and his efforts in his talks and his seminars and his webinars and video series has made a difference in each and every one of those communities. So, without any further ado, I'm proud to introduce Roger Brooks.
Thank you. I usually try to get dressed before the speaking, but I forgot to put on this microphone, so I'll do it right now. So can you hear me okay back there? Is that, okay, there it goes, it just kicked in. I want to make sure you can hear me, because the other day I was doing a speaking engagement, and about 20 minutes into it, there was a commotion in the back. This is me just trying to hook stuff up here. And I said, can you hear me back there? And somebody stood up and said, we haven't heard a word you said for the last 20 minutes. And instantly, 15 people got up from the front of the room and moved to the back. So I'll make sure that doesn't happen tonight. I'm going to stand up here so you can all see me. So, we've had a lot of fun. My wife, Jane, where is she? There she is, standing up back there. Wave, Jane. We have been here since Monday. And so we're going to tell you about our experience and what we've been doing. And you can tell we've had some fun already. And I'm not sure why we're getting all that feedback, but we'll play with it a little bit and see what we can do. And so what we've been doing is secret shopping you. And we've been doing two parts. There's a marketing effectiveness where we look at visibility. How easy was it to find information on Innisfail? And was it effective? Was it good enough to close the sale? And how did you stand up to competing towns, whether it's Red Deer, whether it's any of the towns, Penhold, you name it, down south, Okotosh, all of those places. And then was it convenient to get information? And then we did the on-site assessment. And by the way, the marketing we're not going to talk about too much tonight, but we're going to do an assessment, findings, and suggestions report, and the marketing will be in that. And I'm not sure whether we're going to be successful with that or not. If not, I can also turn it off if it becomes kind of a hassle for everybody. So what we've been doing is we looked at your signage, gateways, wayfinding, your overall appeal as a town, critical mass. I'm going to explain what that is. Parking, restrooms, finding information, things to see and do in the area, even customer service. And so what you're going to see tonight is we came here as if we were a site selector looking for a place to relocate a business or to start a business. We also wore the hat of looking for business opportunities. Would this be a good place to start a business? And would this be a good place to live if we're going to move to the greater Calgary, Red Deer area? And then, how is it as a place to visit? And by the way, I've spent a tremendous amount of time in Alberta. I mean, from Whitecourt all the way down to Waterton and all of the southwest, Pincher Creek and all those areas. So I have a pretty good feel. I've always called Alberta my second home. And I grew up in the San Juan Islands right next to Victoria. And yes, I did work in the concert industry, and what got me out of it was Fleetwood Mac. I thought they were going to kill each other. And so anyway, we've been here since here, we've been doing all this, and as a matter of fact, we went through 65 different things, and I'm going to go through all 65 tonight. Just kidding. Yeah. Whew. And so what I aim to do is cover 5 different topics over the next hour and a half, 2 hours. Number 1 is first impressions. What do we see when we pull off? And of all the times I've driven between Calgary to Edmonton on 2, I had never stopped in Innisfail. Not once. I've been spoken in Red Deer a number of times. I mean, even for Liz Taylor that's here, that was running Travel Alberta. At the time, we did boot camps and everything, but I never made it into Innisfail. And part of it is what you see when you're on the freeway. You're right. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about wayfinding. We're going to talk about downtown, where we spend a lot of time. I'm going to talk a little bit about marketing, and we're going to talk about branding. And so I want to start with the first impressions. Here's the scoop. We flew into Edmonton this time rather than Calgary. And so we made that hour-and-a-half drive, and the whole reason was it was the way our flights worked out, because I got to go from here to Seattle, and so we got so we had to kind of remake our deals. Normally I fly to Calgary. I could fly directly into like Vancouver and then go directly to Red Deer, but that's what we did. So we flew in Monday afternoon, and we drove down and we did come down the freeway, and it was right about dinner time. And that thing is going to drive. Is it driving you guys nuts? Is it too loud? You know what? Let me see if I can. Do you know, Carla, where that is? If we can turn that one down, maybe that's part of the problem. I talk too loud anyway. Usually people say, could you tone it down? And so we'll just see if we can turn that one down if you can find it.
Well, that's better.
But there it is. You can still hear me okay? How's that?
Cutting in and out.
Cutting in and out. What is it like if I don't use a microphone? Okay, let's just take that out of here. We tried it earlier and it was working okay, but we will shut it off for now. Okay? And if I get too quiet, my wife's back there laughing. You can let me know. And so, you want to know what we saw? I'm getting to it. I promise. Here we go. First thing we did is we went right to TripAdvisor to figure out where to eat dinner. As a visitor, the last thing we want is to eat at a chain. So we came into Innisfail, it was right by dinner time, and we could see that your #1 rated restaurant was Superfall. And first of all, even the name, we went, oh my gosh, I'm not so sure about that, Superfall. But there it was, #1 in 23 restaurants. We said Coffee Cottage. And by the way, TripAdvisor is the most used travel website in the world. So whatever you have, you need to pay attention to TripAdvisor. So we did do that. The challenge is we went downtown, looked at it, and said, I don't think so. And I'm going to come back to that. And then, so we looked on Yelp, and we see Coffee Cottage up here, we see Innisfail Pizza, McDonald's. We're scanning down the list, and we did look at the Coffee Cottage, but it was dinner time, and it seemed more like a breakfast and lunch and coffee place. So we thought, well, let's look back at TripAdvisor again, and then we saw Mythos. I don't know if it's Mythos or Mythos. Anybody know? Mythos. Okay, good. And it only had one review, but it was a good one. That was enough to convince us to go there. We had a little bit of hard time finding it, and once we saw it, even there's not one stick of beautification. My #1 beef in Alberta is this. Why does everything in the province have to be gray, brown, beige, and tan? And #2, you're not the only province that has winters. Why is it even in the summer? People do not believe in beautification. We all travel. Have you ever said these words? That looks like a nice place to eat. But we thought, you know what? Let's go there. Food was great. Okay? Service was good. We did there. Now, I got to tell you, we did not stay in Innisfail. Because, first of all, when we secret shop you're going to see a whole bunch of things here. They are all suggestions. There's no recommendations in this presentation. Because we did not get any information from the chamber, from the town, nothing. So we just said, let us come just like anybody else would. You're not going to tell us what to do, where to stay. My assistant, Becky's been with me for almost 15 years. She knows that I don't mind I stay at mid-quality hotels. There are budget quality, there's mid-quality, there's high quality, and then there's luxury, right? Budget. So we go into Innisfail, and all your hotels are budget. It's the Motel 6s, the Super 8s, the lower end. Even the Best Western's not a Best Western Plus. And so she automatically booked us into Gasoline Alley. Okay? So I'm just telling you, let me give you another statistic in travel. The top 15% of accommodations in terms of quality do 85% of the leisure travel business. Okay? So our first impression is we have lots of budget motels and stuff. So we're thinking that Innisfail is kind of a lower end town. And then we saw retail shops, see the Co-op grocery store, we see Dollar General, we see a lot of lower end second-hand stores and everything. So I got to tell you, we even when we went up Mythos, there was only one other table with people, and this is Monday evening, only one other table was being served. And this is like 7 o'clock at night. And we felt really bad that it doesn't look like the locals here are even frequenting their own restaurants. I mean, I'm just telling you our first impression within the first hour we were here. Okay? And then, of course, when you come down, you know, if you wonder why did he never stop all the gazillion times I've been through here on 2? Why did he never stop in Innisfail? Because if you go down Highway 2, you see what you see. You see budget motels, you see storage units, you see storage sheds, you see some agriculture. It doesn't look any different really than Camrose or anywhere else that is an agricultural community. You don't see anything from the freeway, and I didn't see that sign, you know, out there. This was, how long have you had the sign out there now?
14 years.
14 years. Because we're coming down 2, their sign is so far away, I never noticed it before. And so that was our first impression. So how many are going? How many of you are thinking, when is this guy going to get out of town? But, you know, I just wanted to be really honest because somebody else might have the same first impression. So we came down 2 and we could see that 368 is the exit we want to take. That is the main exit that's going to get us into Innisfail. And we see Big Valley, we see Dixon Leisure Grounds. So we said, okay, sounds good. And, you know, so here it is. We do see that you have a golf club, so that's good. And then we do see that you have some other businesses, you know, and mainly a gas and Super 8 and those kinds of things. Nothing bad. But the second you take that exit, you pull up here, there's not one single sign that says where Innisfail is. Do we turn left? Do we turn right? Is there a downtown? Is there even a town? Not one sign. Now, obviously, when we get up to the intersection, if we look left, we don't see much. You know, number 1, you can't see over the overpass. Number 2, if you look right, you can see commercial development. So we naturally turn right, and we can see there's some kind of wayfinding sign down here, so we thought, whatever it is, it must be that direction. But when we take those exits, and this is where I get in trouble, your 2 most challenged looking commercial buildings are this one and that one. They look very dated. They look like they're 1970s. It looks like they used to be malls. The malls went defunct and now we put churches in them and whoever will pay any kind of rent. So now you understand why our first impression was that way. Because this is what we saw. Now, it wasn't all bad because you have tried to do some window dressing like this. And so we thought, well, that's nice. There's the little sidewalk. It doesn't really go anywhere. But at least you've got flowers there, and that was a positive. You've done the landscaping here, and you're going to start seeing these suggestions. And you don't need to write them down because we're going to give you this presentation. But the first thing we see, first one is here. You know what? If you're not using it, move it. It's portable. Because you know what that says? There's nothing happening here. Except for this one, it's big, it's coming, there's no stopping it. I didn't know what that was. Then somebody says it's you. And he said, he's big, he's gaining weight, he's coming, and you can't get him to leave. But the point is, if you got this, just take it away. Come on, it's on skids. Put something on it. Just put something on it. Number 2, this is very nice. So we did see some nice, you know, we can see you obviously have tried to make it look better when you get off the freeway. And so, but by the way, even, you know, I'm not sure about selling ads there. By the way, let me tell all of you that are in business, never more than 8 words on a sign. I mean, how many of you have pulled off the exit, actually parked, walked across the street to read these signs? You can't read them unless you're walking in the grass. I'm standing right here and I can barely read them. So they're not doing the business much good. And I understand about raising money to help pay for beautification and all those things. But no more than 8 words. Just make it really simple and clean. You know, it's nice. The beautification is really nice. And so, and by the way, we even see things like this. And we didn't see this as a negative at all. It's very clean. It's well maintained. All the tanks are painted. They're organized. We did not see anything wrong with that at all, or this, at all. You are an agriculture community. We thought, as a matter of fact, that side, that co-op over there was thought was really well maintained. So, bottom line. Our first impression is agriculture and lower end. And we ate at Mythos, and then we went up to our hotel. Now, one thing is, when we're headed down to Mythos, we did see this sign, and we thought, yes! The Ministry of Highways actually is putting up really great wayfinding signs. You know, they didn't put up those signs. But thank goodness somebody took the lead. Do I want to drop names here?
No.
But you know what? Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. So, at least we saw a sign that said Discovery Wildlife Park, Anthony Henday Campground, Innisfail Golf Course. So all of a sudden we did know that you had something to offer. So thank goodness for that. So congratulations on doing that. Now, so next morning we decided to come back down. And we thought, okay, let's check this out. The first thing want you to do, one of the first things we want you to do is a wayfinding system. Wayfinding are directional signs. It includes your gateways and entries into the town. It includes your attractions and activities. And there's 3 on that sign, but you got a lot more than that. But we can't list 20. So wayfinding has to be progressive. Depending on where you're at, you're going to add different things to the signs. And amenities, where's parking, restrooms, washrooms, I should say, trail markers, access points. You're going to hear about this. Visitor information, pedestrian wayfinding, and you need gateways. You need gateways to make a statement like they do in Halifax. Does that look like a fun downtown? You know, or even in Nelson, British Columbia. They do a nice gateway sign in Creston, British Columbia. So one of the suggestions is, you know what? Having a concrete bunker there does not really make Innisfail look great. Sometimes they can say things you like to say without paying a political price. Sometimes they say the wrong thing and I have to leave town very quickly. But I'm just telling you from the eyes the first time, you know what? I think you're more than this. And I think that Innisfail here is kind of small and understated. You need to make a statement. Okay? Suggestion. These are all just suggestions. And then, you know, you need wayfinding. And by the way, with wayfinding is directional signs, never more than 5 items on a sign. You know, this is in Appleton, Wisconsin. These signs are about $650 a piece. It's anodized aluminum. It has an aqueous coating so ice won't stick to it, paint won't stick to it, graffiti. And they're on existing power poles. They put up 18 of these around their city, and they saw their retail sales and services go up by double-digit increases. Just by connecting the dots. You know, and they should always look like whatever your brand is. And we're going to talk about that. So they can look decorative, like this one. Or like this one in Modesto, California. Or like this one in Miramichi, New Brunswick, Historic Water Street, the Rivers Island, you know, the wharf there. I mean, and even these, when you get within a kilometer of whatever, they have these signs there. You know, I'll give you another town that's done a great job. It's right here in Cardston. When you come into town, they tell you this. Right here is Remington. There's the Carriage Center, the Carriage Museum, Pioneer House, the Fay Ray. That's where she was born. So they give you these, and then as you go through town, on every intersection, they'll tell you which one's where. Wayfinding. And their wayfinding fits their brand as the carriage capital. And so they've done that. These are helpful, but most of them don't even finish the job. They send you in the direction, the general direction, but good luck finding where you're supposed to turn to find the arena, which, by the way, we never found. And so we did find some schools. We did find the aquatic center. We did find a museum. We actually found the villa. And then, but a couple of businesses have done a good job. Like I think it's really awesome that transportation gave you this sign. They're over there going, but you know what? It's unfortunate that they have to go to that level because nobody else is. Now, the one thing you don't want to do is all of a sudden have it become a free-for-all where everybody's putting out signs out there. And so, we couldn't find any wayfinding signage to downtown. We couldn't find any to Dodds Lake. We couldn't find any to the Rodeo Ranch, but this was a nightmare to try to find. And then, the Kemp House, I still don't know where that is. The ski hill, there's no wayfinding to all of these and many others. If we would not have been secret shopping you, we probably would have found downtown, we would have found the wildlife park, but that's probably it. We might have found the golf course. And so when you wonder why people, they go, well, what does Innisfail have anything? Well, they don't know. If they take that exit, you have to go way down there by the co-op just to see that you have anything. And you know what most people do? They take the exit, they go get gas, fast food, and they're back on the freeway. And all you try to do then is compete with gasoline alley. And so, nothing. And so, but we did find some things. We did see Innisfail access. We do see there's Napoleon Lake Historical Village. But the problem is we're not going down the freeway saying, honey, write down that stuff really quick. We did find visitor information. And at visitor information, there's this great billboard right here that's got a map on it. And on the map, it's got really cool things like I think all these dotted lines are trails, all these trails. But you know what the problem is I did not have a saw so I could hack it down and fit in the back of my SUV and take it with us. Luckily, we walked in the visitor information and they did have a small one. Now the problem is, I have no idea where these trails are or how to get it. It doesn't have every little street, but this was very helpful. Well, what happens if we come into town and we don't find the Visitor Information Center? Or if we find the Visitor Information Center and they're closed, guess what? We can't take this with us. So this should actually be in a brochure, like a little real estate holder, right down on that sign, so that if somebody's there, they can take this with them. Because we tried to use the town's map, and this one here was very, very difficult to use. It had great lists of things like the Danish tour, the Icelandic tour, the wildlife tour, but on this map, it's not in scale and it doesn't tell you where to start. So we had a really difficult time trying to find things. There's no wayfinding. And by the way, I'm going to talk about navigation systems here in a second. And so those are some of the challenges. But this is a good map, and thank goodness that the Visitor Information Center was open and we could get one of these. But you know what, even doing something like this, see this, wouldn't it be cool if you had a little folded up map right there next to that one so we could take it with us? It would be great. And you also need to sign your trail system. You have trails everywhere. We have no clue how long they are, how many of them, whether they connect, whether they don't connect, nothing. We couldn't even find a trail map. And so those are things you need to do. But you know, we urge you to watch the video. You've been watching a lot of the videos. I have quite the library out there. We're going to give you even more time. But you've got to see this one. It'll tell you how to do this. You know what? Wayfinding is an investment, not an expense. We have never seen any city or town that implemented a wayfinding system that did not see an increase in retail sales and services. Not one. The average will go up by 18%. Just by connecting the dots and letting people know they have more than what they see right next to 2. All right. Okay? So, the other thing you need to do is work with NavTech is the main company that makes maps in our navigation systems. And by the way, only 25% of Canadians even use navigation aids. And so, on smartphones, but you know what the problem is? People say, well, we don't need wayfinding. Everybody has navigations. They can just do it on their smartphone. Guess what? Navigation systems only help us find what we already know exists. We type in such and such hotel or wildlife park, the Discovery Wildlife Park. We'll type in those things, but your signs let us know what you got. So what you need to do is you go to NavTech. And they actually have a thing called Map Reporter, Because you know what? When we listen, you want to see all the attractions in the Innisfail area. You want to see them all? We typed in attractions. Here's the full list. The Trading Post downtown. I know. The second we saw the Trading Post, we went, well, that pretty much takes care of the whole west. But look at this. Historical Village, the Wildlife Park, Bowden Museum, that's it. Everything else is out of Innisfail. That's it. You need to work with them. So what you do? Get volunteers to go out and test them. And you can go right back to Map Reporter right here, where this Map Reporter is, and you can tell them, hey, by the way, you need to add this to the attractions, you need to add this to the recreation, you need to add these things. A lot of your restaurants, by the way, like Mythos is not even in the nav system. But Mythos can go and tell Map Reporter that they exist, and then they'll add it for the next round of map updates. Okay? So that's what you need to do. So that's the first, one of the things you could do. And so we decided to explore. Since there's no way to find it, we're just going to drive around and get lost. So we were driving around, and we pulled down a side street, and we saw this. And the second we saw this, our perception of Innisfail changed. We saw beautiful homes on a beautiful lake. We have no idea what the name of the lake is, but it's a pretty lake. And beautiful homes right here. Is anybody here in the audience on that home? Yeah? Okay. Okay, I was going to say, we want to come spend the night. No. And so, I mean, it was just stunning. And all of a sudden, those first impressions at Innisfail started to fade away as we saw this. We even found by accident a little park with a little picnic shelter up there. We found this cool little boardwalk there. But you know, it looks like it goes up a trail. I have no idea whether it's a click long, whether it's 10 clicks, whether it just goes up there and stops, whether there's a lookout tower, whether it follows the lake. There's no information, no signs, nothing. You know, when there's no signs and no information, you know what we do? We don't even bother. But here's the deal. If you can get people to pull off the freeway and they spend 2 hours in Innisfail spending doubles. 2 hours spending doubles. But if you have enough stuff that they'll spend the night, it quadruples. Because now you got hotels, you got more restaurants, you got retail. So there's another suggestion is do that. You know, add information. You know what? We are about ready to leave and we walked behind the picnic shelter and all of a sudden we see a sign about foxes and then we see a sign that says it's Dodds Lake. But it's nowhere near where people go. It's back behind the picnic shelter. So the suggestion here is move this out there where the people are. Then we'll know it's Dodds Lake. Beautiful, beautiful spot. All of a sudden we're going, wow, this community is pretty nice. But how many people are doing that? How many people are doing what we just did? We did find the Visitor Information Center. As we came around the corner there, beautiful landscaping there. We thought it was very nice. One thing that you need to do, though, that's very important, is that visitor information should be working 24/7, 365 days a year. So what we want you to do, because the only thing in this was an Avon brochure. and so, my nails are beyond doing, and, the hair color, it's just not working for me anyway. And so, here's what you need to do. I think a good example is North Platte, Nebraska. Look at this. There's the door. They built this little box. They had a local craftsperson do it. It was $300. So it's got a little lid on it, and they did this for the full-size one. Then they did one for rack size, and another full-size one that could be like the provincial or another area. So they did that. And that way, your visitor information center is working 24/7. And by the way, what you need to know is, look at this. Before we come to Innisfail, only 32% of people are made by, only 30% are done by brochures. Because we're on the web. We're talking to friends and relatives. But once we travel, brochures are number one, even more than the internet. Once we arrive in Innisfail, now we want the brochure that tells us what there is to see and do here. And if we don't get there the hours your visitor information is open, we're out of luck. That's if we find your visitor information center. Remember, we have to go all the way through downtown and out the other side to find it. See what I mean? So these are the things that you could fix. You know, we think it'd be fun to do this. This is a little town in New Jersey. Its population is about 1,500, called Cape May. They did this, and this probably costs $8,000, $9,000. It's fairly expensive. But if you could have these kinds of kiosks, by the way, this is the one thing where we don't want new technology. We want a brochure we can physically hold and take it to the restaurant, take it to the hotel, open it up, read it, have it in the car with us. We don't want to sit there at a digital kiosk, wait for the person in front of us to be done with it so you can use it. And a digital kiosk doesn't give you anything you can take with you. See what I mean? So the old technology of brochures is really important. By the way, I love what it says here. Welcome friends, old and new, linger here a day or two. Isn't that cool? And by the way, you can even do this where you say, well, we're going to charge businesses, restaurants, hotels, attractions, charge you like $5 a month. You know what that $5 a month does? Number one, it gets it out there. It lets you build this one. It helps pay for it. It helps pay the electricity. That actually has some lights in it. It helps maintain it. It helps pay for somebody to stock it. And we think you should have a whole series of little kiosk locations. And they don't have to be as fancy as this. We have all kinds of videos that'll show you other alternatives. But at Centennial Park, you need to have one. At Dodds Lake, you need to have one. At your visitor information, you need to have one. If you don't have it mounted on the building, you could have a standalone like the one you just saw. Downtown in a couple locations, at the golf course, campground. I mean, all these places, you should have visitor information kiosks. All with brochures. Okay? Now, so we're driving around. We did see the visitor information center, and then we did see the campground. And my suggestion here was to reduce the sign clutter by about 50%. There was just signs plastered everywhere. And I think you can tone that down a little bit because it's a beautiful campground. And so, I mean, I'm not saying take down the flag, but we got this sign and 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 another sign and another sign over there. I mean, it's just like, whoa, too much, too much. And so it's beautiful. We did see it. And look at this. This town is surprising. So now we've seen Dodds Lake. We've seen a nice neighborhood. We saw the campground. We saw the visitor information center. And we were showing, man, if we were going to move here, I'd want to move to his one. This looks really cool. Look really nice. And so, I mean, we started to see stuff like this. And all of a sudden, our perception in Innisfail went 180 degrees. First hour, second hour, the next morning, totally different. Because we saw this. And even the smaller homes were gorgeous. And even this home was like, we'll take it. Yeah. I mean, the views in the valley behind here, I just went, oh my gosh. This is not the Alberta plains that you normally see. I mean, you got all these hills, valleys, and everything. And then right near here was more trails. And of course, once again, no signs, no nothing, no information. We know you got trails, but we have no idea where they go, how long they are, nothing. These are all can be fixed with wayfinding. And even if you do something simple like this, I can't remember where I even took this picture, but it might just be a couple of posts with a little trail map in it. Just something simple. It doesn't have to be expensive. So we're driving, we're still exploring, and we come to the golf course. And we saw this. Went, okay, well, let's check it out. So we drove up there, and then we see the chef dressed very nicely, and went, whoa, cool. And we went here, and we were blown away. We did not expect a high-end quality golf course. Now, we didn't get a chance to go out and play, but it is amazing. It was beautiful. Even the little restaurant, everything. As a matter of fact, we spent quite a bit of money out there because they had shirts for half price, just so you know. Get out there. We got a lot of logo gear out there. As a matter of fact, I was going to wear one tonight, and Jane said, you should probably wear something a little dressier. But I was going to promote the golf course. It is really fabulous. I mean, it was just stunning. Now, how many holes is it?
27.
27. Didn't know that. You know, it is fabulous. I mean, it was just, I thought, this has got to be one of the best golf courses. Do we got a deer?
I had my tournament that day. You were there Tuesday.
Yeah, was there Tuesday? It was the sunny day this week. It was fabulous. I gotta say, this is probably the prettiest golf course I've seen in Alberta. And I don't know, I think from what I've heard, it's really highly rated. Isn't it one of the province's top golf courses?
One of the top 5.
Top 5.
You know what? How many people know this?
Not many, and we like it that way.
Oh! Okay, well, that's...
He's doing a good job then.
You're doing a good job, yeah. So, fabulous, just fabulous. But you know, then we were driving around and we were came out of the golf course and we saw this little dead-end road here and went, I want to go that way. So we turned the other way and we went down about a couple hundred meters and we saw a sign that said something about ski hill. And so we went, what is there, a ski hill back here? So we turned around and went down this little dead-end road. There's no sign here or anything that says there's anything down there. And then we saw the ski hill. I mean, look at this. We're going out being. And this town is full of surprises. So we saw it, yeah, and so I did sneak in there even beyond all the warning signs to keep out or you'll be shot. Actually, the signs don't say that, but it was like, do I dare sneak in there? You know, so I did. And so I snuck in there and I thought, this is amazing. You know, and then next to the ski hill, there's another trail. We see trails everywhere. And of course I said, there's even a sign that tells about the trail. Well, actually, there's not. It tells you about a place called Mud Lake. I don't know where that is. I don't know if the trail takes you there. Nothing. See why you need a trail, why you need a wayfinding system? We could have spent a week here if we would have known about all this stuff. That's a lot of money. You know, and we did see, I went, oh my gosh, those are narrow runs. You know, going down the ski hill, but it looks amazing. And I guess there's other runs. I kind of wandered around a little bit, but once again, I just went, who knew? How many people know about this stuff? You know, and so we're finding all kinds of cool stuff. But how many people are going to do what we did? If we wouldn't have been doing assessment, we wouldn't have found almost any of this stuff. So we were driving around. We did see all these signs to Discovery Wildlife Park. And so there's the sign right there. And you know, I thought of all the attractions, at least it was easy to find. And that's because they finally took matters into their own hands. Whether it's right or wrong, at least they did it. And the problem is, we don't want everybody to do that. But we do want wayfinding system. And so we did see it there. And very easy. Next right, 1 minute ahead, made it really super easy. And I gotta tell you, we pulled in there. And the first thing, I went right on. When you walk over the bridge, you see this here. Roll on over to the Innisfail Historical Village. I thought it was so cool. What you doing there, Doug? Oh, you're trying to block some sunlight there for your fellow councilors over there? Does that help?
Yeah, the mirror always gets my feet stuck a little bit.
So, I thought this was really cool that they are cross-selling other attractions here. I think it'd be really cool if your other attractions cross-sold other attractions. See what I mean? You should have a sign at the Historical Village that might point them, if it's not back to the Discovery Center, to the Wildlife Center, it might be to some other attraction. See what I mean? That way you keep people here longer. But I thought it was really cool because so far we don't know anything about the Historical Village. Now we do. So we did go in there. And one thing it was, first of all, beautification, it was beautiful. Even there, people take pictures of the bridge as you walk across the grounds. And what was really cool was a lifesaver. It turns out that Jane back there, next Tuesday, is going in for hip surgery. She's doing this assessment with me, and I'm going, I don't think we're going to be able to do much. She has a bone spur. I don't think we're going to be able to do much walking. We walked through there, and we saw a row of golf carts. I went running back inside and said, are those for rent? They said, yes. I said, well, take one. And you know, that was really cool. So we got to experience Hall Park in a golf cart, which really helped. But that brings up a subject. I'm going to take a little side trip to the fastest growing trend in tourism across the US and Canada. According to the Travel Channel, forget solo travel, which by the way, I'm not saying forget, that's what they said. The big trend now is to bring the entire family along for an unforgettable adventure. Families are forgoing the family vacations of the past where quality time was spent parked at the beach, and instead are looking for transformative experience the whole family can share. We are in the age of multi-generational travel. It is going to be the fastest growing trend in tourism. The oldest baby boomers are 69. The youngest ones are only 52. Us boomers had our kids in the 20s. The millennials, the kids of the boomers, are having their kids in their 30s and even early 40s. But you know what? We took our kids, and we have 3 little grandkids, on a trip to Disneyland. But this is the kind of experience we would bring them to Alberta for. Because as grandparents you can enjoy it, the kids can enjoy it, and the grandkids can enjoy it. You got to be prepared. And those golf carts are going to make all the difference in the world when those grandparents come and they don't want to do all that walking. They can follow the kids. You know what I mean? Of course, the little kids will want to be in the golf cart. But it was really cool that they had those. And so the Travel Channel says, unforgettable transformative adventures. And people want to learn something. And this is why let me go back to that. This is why the wildlife park is important to you for tourism. Because kids don't want to go to things they just look at. They want to do things they can experience. Did you notice the opening slide was a whole bunch of kids gathered around a tortoise? They'll never forget it. And, you know, this is what we're looking for. So this is a new video for you to watch. We just did this one like a week ago. It's got all brand new information in it. But this is what people want. You know, while we were at the park, we met Serena. And, matter of fact, I walked up to her tonight and said, wow, you look like a girl today. She's usually in uniform working. But you know, I hope you don't mind me telling the story. Her earliest recollection when she was a little kid, she was 3, am I right? Her first thing she can remember in childhood was riding on the back of a tortoise. She said, I don't remember much else about being 3, but I'd never forget that. That is what they're doing here. That's why this is important to you. And this is one of the best attractions you have in the province. I think you take it for granted. Yeah, they're here, you know. But that was cool. It was fun. We were there Tuesday. 200 people were there to see the bear show. I sit there counting them. I wasn't watching the bears. I was watching the kids. I was watching them go to the fence. They want to hold on to the fence. They're not supposed to. They can't help it. They're excited. They just want to be part of it. And they were thrilled. It was fun to see the eyes as they're walking from, you can't do this in a regular zoo. I thought the grounds were spectacular, very nice. Both Jane and I did. And you know what? I got to tell you this. The Discover Wildlife Park is your Disney World. Flat out simple. It is your Disney World. You need to promote it front and center. And by the way, then you can say, when you're done, go check out the Village Museum. Go do this. Head down to the lake. Grab a picnic lunch. Do all these kinds of other things while you're here. Because that right there is at least half a day. You're going to spend all day there. I think people go in there. As a matter of fact, I heard a couple stories where people go in there, they're going, man, that was a lot of money for a 1-hour experience, and they come out 6 hours later going, holy smokes, what happened to the day? We had such a great time. You know what that does? That quadruples the visitor spending. And so, we did that. When we were done doing this, and we didn't get to spend as much time as we would have liked, because we're actually here to work. So when we were done, we did go to lunch downtown. To the coffee connection? No, coffee cottage. And it was great, by the way. Really great. You get your sandwiches, nicely done. And I loved it because they had all these little rooms you could go in, kind of a central gathering spot. Very nicely done. So we had lunch there, had a good experience. It was highly rated. That's why we're eating at these restaurants. We're looking at TripAdvisor and Yelp. And then we decided to go find the historical village, which we did find. Now, if you've got information panels, use them. There's nothing in them. This is closed up, and then I can see, oh, the entrance is down there. You know, number 2 is signage should always be facing traffic. So this signage is parallel to the street. It should be facing the way people are walking or driving. Just an FYI for everybody. And so we did see the ice cream and everything should be there. Another suggestion, have a chain link and barbed wire fences around a historical attraction. Stop it. That's awful. No offense. I understand budgets and everything. But having a barbed wire fence wrapped around tells me you got a problem as a town. That people are breaking into your fine stuff. And by the way, what you should do is use wrought iron. They even make vinyl wrought iron. Do something decorative because that takes away from the whole historical feel. It makes it feel like a jail. As a matter of fact, you should have a bylaw that does not allow chain link fences in your downtown area. That's how I feel about chain link. Can you tell whether I like it or not? And so that's what you should do. Just because it makes it more welcoming. You know, it doesn't make you look like Gestapo. And so we did go in, we paid the admission. One thing that was a little bit difficult was the music was so loud that I was like, St. Jean, I'm over here. And so I thought you could probably turn down the music just a little bit because it was really blasting. And then one other thing, and this, you know, I'm picking on the museum, but this goes for everybody. When you say all children are to be supervised by a responsible adult, not just an adult, but one that's responsible. While in the village, children's behavior and safety is the responsibility of the guardian. What you're doing is saying, if you're a parent, act your age. You know what? Why don't you do something like this? We love children like you do, so hold their hand because it's so tempting to touch, climb, and feel everything. Please, thank you. Be nice. Don't start slapping us around when we just walk in the door. Make sense? And so that's one thing you could do. Now, by the way, do events take place here at the museum at the village? Does anything ever happen in this gazebo? No?
Yeah.
There are? See, you don't even know. Some are going out, some are going. Here's the point. Why don't you put a sign there that says 2015, here's our upcoming events. Invite us back. You're going to see these three words a bunch of times because as a town, you don't do a very good job inviting us back. But if you said this year, over the next 3 or 4 months, we're going to do this and this and this and this and this, we're going to scan down that list and we may say, well, I like that. Well, let's come back for that. Because you know what, it sure is a lot easier to get repeat visitors than it is to keep getting new ones over and over and over. After a while, you run out of customers. So that's something you could do. You know, and by the way, for historic attractions, I wrote a book called The Immutable Rules of Tourism, and this is one of the rules. I'm going to give you 2 examples. This is in Elko, Nevada, Northeastern Nevada Museum. And I've been in thousands of museums across the US, Canada, and Western Europe. In this museum, there was a wildlife wing and a historical wing. I went in the wildlife wing, but instead of seeing animals, stuffed animals, what I saw were these animals telling the story of how a lion kills a wildebeest. And I'm reading that story and I'm going, whoa. It told the story. It didn't just show stuff. It told the story. And it was a little bit gruesome, but captivating and fascinating. I learned something. And then they even talked about, red branding irons in the West. Marking a beef with a red hot iron is like placing a 4-foot stake under lock and key. The brand shows legal ownership. Occasionally, a career in the cattle rustling business starts when somebody tries to alter the brand, but their shenanigans were always ended at the end of a swinging rope. They told one story of this farmer who had his cattle were disappearing. They were down in a valley, it was all pinned off, and they were disappearing. The gates were locked. We didn't know how they got in and out. The gates were closed, I should say. They didn't see any human footprints down in the Nevada desert, but the cattle were disappearing. So they finally had 2 farmers stake out the valley. They were up on a ridge watching it. Nothing happened the first night. Nothing happened the second night. The third morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, right at dawn, they could hear somebody down there, whoo, 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 hoop hollering. So they got out of their sleeping bag, got their guns, went running down the hill, and there they caught Crazy Tex Hazelwood wearing these shoes he made so they would never see his human footprints down in the desert. When you tell stories, I don't care whether they're sad, heartbreaking, funny like this one. I walked in a museum, I paid $6. And they said, oh, by the way, if you want, this $6 gives you an all-day pass. So if you want to leave to get lunch and come back, I went, yeah, right. Because the average museum visit is 20 and 40 minutes. Oh, yeah, right. But you know what happened is, I went to the historical wing, then I went out for lunch and came back and did the other half. And if you captivate the visitor for 2 hours, there you go, spending increases. Museum must learn to tell stories, not display artifacts with facts and figures. And no offense, we know that it's nice when people donate stuff, but to us visitors, it doesn't mean a thing. So, I want you to avoid these words in marketing museums. If you want anybody under 70 to come to a museum, artifacts, collections, displays, and donated by, we automatically go, I mean, it puts us to sleep. Okay? Give you one more. I was in Huntsville, Texas. Hearts, helping every American remember through serving museum. I thought, oh boy, I'm going to go in a military museum. I walked in there, these 10-foot booths, a couple meters, walked in these 10-foot square booths, and there was women and men from Canada, Australia, the US, and the United Kingdom, each telling their story. I had just seen the movie Saving Private Ryan. They say the first 20 minutes of that movie was the most spectacular and heart-wrenching movie, heart-wrenching filmmaking in film history. But I walked up to a booth, and there was this old guy there named Michael Camella. He was a little embarrassed, and he started telling me a story. He fought in Omaha Beach that day. And he showed me a picture of him and his neighbor. This is him, this is his neighbor kid. He says, yeah, I joined the Army when I was 17 with my neighbor who I'd known since I was 3. We were over there, we were shipped over there, and because of time, I won't tell you the whole story, but he said, we got over there, we were on one of those landing craft pulling up to the beach. And he said, the Germans were just firing at us. And he said, we were so scared, we wet our pants. And he said, they let down that ramp, and I was right there in the front of that ramp, and instantly my best friend was standing right next to me, got shot through the hip. He said, I grabbed him, and we jumped into the water, and we weighed like 100 pounds. We were carrying 70 pounds worth of gear. We sank like rocks. The water was 42 degrees Fahrenheit, so 2 or 3 degrees. I mean, he said, when I was in the water, I could hear the bullets going by. And he said, I thought for sure I was going to drown. He said, all I remember is saying a prayer to God, please deliver me. I have a hard time with this story. And he said, the next thing I remember, I pulled my best buddy up on the beach and laid him down, and he was shot through the head while he was underwater. I will never, ever forget Michael Camella, who died a couple of years ago. It's the stories that we will never forget that make museums worth visiting. And you need to tell those stories. Because in this museum you show lots of stuff. But I have no idea if this was pulled by a power wagon, gas, or by horses or oxen. I have no idea about any of this stuff. It's just a bunch of stuff. Tell the story. This had a team of oxen. It took them all day to farm 1 acre. I mean, tell the story about so-and-so that used this stuff. You know, over here, I didn't even know whether we should go in there because it looks like it's for the volunteer fire department. Right? It doesn't look like it's part of the museum. And so I thought it could be fighting fires and famine, because when we walked in there, even Jane went, this is the coolest part of the museum. But here we tell about, it's a 1-cylinder pumper used by the Innisfail Fire Department, purchased, restored by Museum of Madawaska, and returned it. There's nothing about it. It's gorgeous. Was it drawn by horses? How many could one of these put out a fire? And where did they get the water back then? And see what I mean? Tell the stories. Even for the cars, you know, they were so close together we couldn't really walk back in there. But some of the cars were really cool, like a mobile gun. One of them was like for a gun shop. Really cool stuff. But you got to tell stories. Because you know what? We were there for about 40 minutes. And we'd seen it all. Because we just walked through. And here's the other challenge. If you just have displays of collections and artifacts, been there, done that, no reason to ever come back. That's why you need to tell the stories. Make sense? So, and that's for all the museums in the area, by the way. I picked on them, but it belongs to everybody. We did find the Aquatic Center by accident. And then we went back out on the highway, and this is off of 2. We saw the Jungle Farm. And so we decided to take that exit. So we did turn right down this road. And the first thing we meet is this. So here's the question for you. Number 1, is it open? Is it not open? Is it out of business? Is this even for the Jungle Farm? What is this?
A rodeo.
There's a rodeo at the Jungle Farm?
No, that was for the rodeo.
Oh, do you get the rodeo that way?
Yeah.
Well, you know what you should do is say, you know what you should do? This should have a sign on. And I know the rodeo, just happened last weekend, right?
Yes.
So what you do is you should already put a sign on there. Rodeo, June whatever, 2016. Make sure you come back. Either that or take it away. Because what we thought was that this is for the Jungle Farm and they must not be in business. I feel sorry for them because it's not their fault. But we didn't know. Okay? Then we hit a dirt road, and we go, we stopped. We said, you know, I don't want to drive down a dirt road 10 kilometers to find this Jungle Farm. Well, the little dirt road was like 3 blocks long. I have no idea why that's not paved. I'm sure there's a story. But I wonder how many people go there and go, this looks like it's going to be a dirt road all the way. And it wasn't. So we luckily went over it. Now, when you see a sign like that, what would be your first impression? And this, by the way, I may be picking on the Village Museum and the Jungle Farm, but this applies to every business, everything you got, is when the sign looks dated and it's not refreshed or anything, we figured, don't know whether they're in business or not. But we're out here, we're going to just try it anyway. And then for everybody here, signs should always be perpendicular to the traffic. Only time I would see a sign is as we're cruising past. So they should turn that sign this way. And it should be double-sided so you can see it from both ways. Make sense? So we did drive down the road, and we saw the beautiful bar. Beautiful country, by the way. The second we started getting out of town, we went, oh my gosh, this place is spectacular. And so we did see down there this little building. It looks like it's under construction. And so we didn't know whether it was open, whether it's closed, whether it's closed permanently, whether it's closed for the day, whether we got there too early, too late. No clue. No information. And so we figured, well, it's probably going to open in a few weeks whenever they get this building done. Now, we did see a little thing over here. There is a little tiny sign here that says something about going over into the little greenhouse area, but there's nobody there. So we felt like we were intruding. We turned around and left. Because we have no idea when or if they're ever open. Okay? And so we're back out on the highway. We see Dixon, and so we decided to travel out these ways. We see Dixon Dam, and so we did see the dam. Now, somebody said there's an interpretive center there. We never found it. We did find an administration building, and that's what it says on the door. I don't know if that's the interpretive center, but we never found it. No signs, no anything. And by the way, it's a beautiful lake. Is there public access to this lake?
Yes.
Where?
Other side.
Either side, both sides.
See? No signs, nothing, no information. So there are boat ramps.
Yep.
Is there good fishing there? Or is it mainly boating?
There's fish.
There are some fish.
Yeah, they stock it.
They stock it. But you get the conundrum we're at?
Yeah.
We see a beautiful lake, but we don't know that there's any boat ramps. We don't know if there's activities. We don't know whether there's a marina. We don't know anything. We just see a lake. And then if you look down the other side, this is gorgeous. My first thought is, oh my gosh, I wonder if we could rent kayaks or canoes and do some of this. I mean, it's gorgeous. Now, is there public access down here on this side? Like boat ramps, a place where you can put in a canoe or a kayak? Or a river raft? It's phenomenal. But don't know. No information. So while we're out there, we did see this. Once again, it was closed. We don't know when it's open, if it's open, what it is. We think it's a museum, but we don't know whether it's for sale. We don't really get it. And so now we're starting to have second thoughts. Here we are driving out here in the country, And we're going through all of this, and we're going, you know what, this is not working very well. You know, because we're spending a lot of time out here, and we're getting kind of frustrated. Make sense? And so we did see it looks really cute. Love the old gas pump. And then we saw this. We thought, woo, National Museum, woo-hoo-hoo. This is going to be big. I mean, I thought this was going to be like Head Smash, King, Hollow Jump, something major, because it is the Danish-Canadian National Museum and Gardens. And we did see a really nice sign. However, one thing that's really difficult is you need to make these signs so they're contrasting colors. Because they have kind of like light print over light background or dark print over dark background. It's very difficult to read, even when I got out of the car and walked up to it. And so we did drive down there, and we did see the entrance to it. And of course, this is on Tuesday, and we drive right up, and it says, sorry, not open Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I mean, why aren't you closed on Sunday and Monday like everybody else? So as a visitor, what do you think we were doing? Why are we out here? And so we did drive in there anyway. And we drove in there, we see it, but it looked like somebody's home. I mean, there were people out in the yard, and so I'm going, I think this is somebody's house. I don't know if this is the National Museum. I was expecting something like the Royal Tyrrell, you know? I mean, and so we didn't quite get it. We did see, about the Danish history, but we really didn't see much that looked Danish anywhere. It was just the regular rural Alberta homes and stuff. And so we're driving around, and then we did see Edgar Farms. And, we saw it, and we thought it was really cool that they actually introduce you to the family. When they do that, by putting their names, Doug and Elma, Carrie and Angie, we automatically make a personal connection. It's a family. It's not a corporation, it's a family. That was cool. What was really cool was when we drove in there, we saw this. And what was the coolest thing ever is this. Sorry we missed you. Everything is priced. Please help yourself. There's a place where there's a little adding machine and a little box there. It was the coolest thing we'd seen so far other than the golf course and Discovery Park, Wildlife Park. That. How cool is that? They're open whether they're there or not, and they trust you. It was awesome. That's what your farms need to do. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Look at that. It's just awesome. So then we're driving around. We're looking for other things. We see this one, Bowden Sun Maze, Eagle Creek Farms. And once again, the sign is pretty tired. We did find it. We did see it right here, Eagle Creek Farms. Cool old truck there. And then we do see this. And of course, in season seed potatoes, not in season everything else. Which was the same as saying, go away, you're here the wrong time of year. No. There's no sign that said, when are they in season so we can come back? And so we see the welcome, so we say, well, let's go down there anyway. So we see the cool welcome sign, we see the little thing that's got pictures in there, and then we saw this, and I got out of the car and I went, so I snuck in there, because I don't know if it's open or not. There's nothing that says anything. So I sneak in there, and I don't know, is the sun maze in here? Or is it out in the fields? What is a sun maze? Does anybody here even know?
Sunflower. Like a corn maze.
But is it inside or is it outside? So what is this building? You don't know? Because it says enter here, but nobody's there. The doors are locked. Have no clue when or if it's open. Is it still in business?
Wrong season.
Don't know. Wrong season. When is the season?
You have to wait for the sunflower to be taller than you are to make.
But when is that? In the fall. But what they should say, we open usually around Labor Day. And I understand. I heard about the Asparagus Festival had to be canceled because you had a really dry spring. And I mean, I understand. I've been here through the floods that you had south of you. But even if they just said, our season starts mid-August through Thanksgiving. Canadian Thanksgiving. By the way, Americans spend 30% more than Canadians when they travel. And they like Alberta because of the Rockies, Banff, Waterton, all of those things. But That's what they should do. Just say, our main season is this time to this time, please come back. None of these businesses are ever inviting us back. And that's really a shame. Because we spent almost the whole day out here looking at this stuff, and we're just turned down left and right. And this is not like on a Sunday or a Monday. We're there on Tuesday. So then we found Little Markerville. We thought, oh boy. And, you know, we thought, okay, it's going to be another, you know, another Dixon or whatever, and we're going to, you know, but we did. And by the way, like some other people I know, they took the wayfinding into their own hands because nobody else is doing it. We thought, awesome. We saw their signature milk bottle there, which was awesome. And we saw the little creamery, and it was incredible. Just really, what a cute little, the first thing Jane said when we drove up here is, I can live here. This is so cute. That whole little town. You know, and so it was really great. It doesn't really say, by the way, when it's open, and so we didn't have a chance to go in because by now we're running out of time and we have to get back into downtown and everything. But it looked just really, really cute. So we weren't sure whether it was open or not, but just everything about it was just really charming. There are interpretive signs, a little pedestrian bridge that goes over to parking and camping areas. I mean, even here, a bicycle built for two, fastened to the post and now, or fastened to the fences now. I mean, how can you not love a town where you can live on Mozart Street with a cute little church a block away? It was just charming. Best hidden gem in the whole county, whole area, right there. Little Markerville. Just really cute. Absolutely worth the trip. And then we did see, like, they had a Boy Scout community museum, a video retail outlet. I'm not too sure. This looks like somebody's house. And it says closed. There's no signs that say when or if it's ever open. Once again, not inviting us back. We even saw a blacksmith there, but we have no idea whether this is open to the public, whether it's a museum, whether, no clue. Still a cute town. And then we're going down our list of things we had to see, and there was one on there, was the rodeo. Try to find the rodeo if you don't know this town. It said, oh, we're on the Calgary in Alberta, the old historic Calgary in Alberta. Try to find a sign that says C&E on it anywhere along that road. Number one, try to find the road. We had to drive through residential neighborhoods, and we ended up out on, we said, let's just guess, let's go out there. We've been on 2A, it wasn't out there, and all these other roads were kind of dead-ending. And so we thought, let's just try. So we went through a residential neighborhood, went up there, and then when we got about half a block away, we finally saw a little road sign that said C&E Highway, or whatever it was. And then we found it. And so now I understand, now when you said, oh, well, that sign out there on 2, you know, that takes you to the rodeo. Good thing, because it would be hard to find. But it looks great. Now here's the deal. Is this host only one event a year?
Yes.
That's it?
Music.
2 or 3 days.
See? You don't even know. Okay, I heard 1, I heard 2, I heard 2 and 3. 3. Do we have 4? Anybody see 4? But here's the point. You don't even know. Why isn't there a sign there says, our big event is the rodeo, it happens 3rd weekend in June, or whatever it is. Our next one is this and this. Invite us back. As a community, you're not doing it. Okay? So then we came back into town and we knew there was we saw on this map these little lakes. And we knew Dodd's Lake because we found it by accident. But then there's this other lake and we can't find it. So we're driving around. We finally did find it. And so here it is. We pull up in here and went, wow, now this is nice. So now we're coming back into town. And so we see this. And by the way, this is on Wednesday. Yesterday. Weather turned on us. But you know what? Even in the rain, it's beautiful. And so once again, we see trails. We have no idea how long they are, where they go, where they connect to other trails, where they lights. You know what? Some small business should come into this town and rent Segways and do Segway tours around these trails. They can make a fortune. You'd have people coming here from Edmonton, Calgary, Red Deer, everywhere, just to go do that. Or even rent bikes. I don't even know, are bikes allowed on the trails?
Yes.
Okay. And so you have all these trails, no markers, no information, beautiful area. Somewhere in a brochure it said something about a lookout tower, a lookout platform. We never found that. We found a little gazebo out there by the water. Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that the lookout? See, there's just Nothing, no information. But once again, beautiful. And we thought, even on the back of the Centennial Park sign, even if you put a map of the park and showed the trails, and maybe even a little brochure holder that says, while you're here, look what else, here's our brochure of the very, and I'm going to tell you the one brochure you need to do. It's called The Very Best of Innisfail. I'll talk about that in a bit. But you're taking advantage of that. And then, by the way, when you know what? You promote your skate park as a major attraction. Now, I'm not dissing the skate park, but you know what? I'm really not going to drive an hour from Calgary to go send my kids to this skate park compared to other ones in other towns. So I don't want you in your brochures to list everything you got. Sell the things that are really set you apart. Okay? So nothing against the skate park, but I thought, yeah, you know, I've seen better skate parks in towns of 1,000 people. And, you know, I'm not so sure I'd point that out as a major attraction. And then finally, here's one thing I want you to do. I've talked to you as a visitor. Tourism is the front door to your non-tourism economic development. Anybody who comes to Innisfail as a site selector, a commercial real estate agent, as a business owner, is going to come first as what? A visitor. Is this a place they want to live? Is this a place their employees would want to live? Is this a place that they want to invest in? And that's why I'm telling you all this stuff. It's because if you make it a great place for them to come and visit, we know their employees are going to want to be here. And so, period. Downtown. So we finally circled back and we said, let's check out downtown. And we thought it was beautiful. And here's scoop. Downtowns are critical to your success as a community. Absolutely. Downtowns are back like never before. This is Banff. By the way, Banff has turned into factory tourism. You know the best town in Alberta is? Canmore. Canmore. Best town in Alberta. Hands down. But here's the scoop. The #1 activity of visitors in the world is shopping, dining, and entertainment in a pedestrian-friendly setting. And that is where 80% of the non-lodging tourism spending takes place. That's White Ave in Edmonton. Old Track Corner. So let me say that again. #1 activity of visitors in the world. It's not why we come. We'll come here for the wildlife park or whatever it is. All your family farms. But the #1 activities, shopping, dining, entertainment in a pedestrian-friendly setting, and that's where 80% of the non-lodging visitor spending takes place. That is why Disney put downtown Disney outside of every one of its parks. To get that 80%. But here's the scoop. If you, there you go, the heart and soul of every community besides people is it's downtown. That's where site selectors come. They come into your downtown. And by the way, if you don't hang out in your downtown Innisfail, neither will visitors. And by the way, we did not see you as locals hanging out in your downtown. Ever. In the 4 days we've been here. Not once. We saw a couple people. Here's the scoop with this. We came from the tourism industry. And 50% of our work or more is downtowns. As a matter of fact, we have worked in a couple thousand communities by now, over 1,000. We surveyed 2,000. We found the 400 most successful examples in the US and Canada. And we went to all 400 of those and found the 20 most common ingredients for success. And I'm only going to give you a few of them. And here's the problem, and this was your problem. Thinking that beautification streetscapes will revitalize the downtown. You're wrong. You made a mistake as a city, as a town. We call it the massive misdirection mistake. Like thousands of other communities, you spent millions making downtown look nice, but the other half is still missing. The town did its point. How much did you spend downtown as a town? 8.5 million, right? You get that right? And that includes, of course, that includes what? Sewer, water, lots of other infrastructure things. But here's the point. And I'm not giving them a bad time because what they did is phenomenal. What's sad is that the other side, the private sector, didn't join the party. They didn't do their part. And I feel bad for the town. And you're not alone. Because you made downtown beautiful. But you know what? The landscaping, the street trees, the sidewalks, The pole banners, everything you did is beautiful. But you know what? If your downtown was Carnegie Hall, let's say you had Carnegie Hall right here in downtown Innisfail. No matter how beautiful Carnegie Hall is, with frescoes and chandeliers and the beautiful draperies and the velvet covered seats, would you go to Carnegie Hall if nothing happening was on the stage? If there was nothing happening on stage, would you do it? That's the problem. You know, you did beautiful murals. So let me talk about this. The future downtowns where we go after working on weekends. You're closed. If you want millennials, if you have kids graduating from high school, which is what, this week, next week, coming right up. If you have kids graduating from high school and they're saying, the second I graduate, I'm blowing this town. That's why. You need gathering places. We're in the age of third places. The first place is the place we live, it's our home. The second place is the place we work. The third place is the place we go to hang out. Starbucks built an entire brand around creating third places. Entire brand. And you know what? One business has done it here, and that's Coffee Cottage. They have all these neat little rooms and everything. But they can't do it by themselves. So here's the 6 things you can do to fix what you have in downtown. The town has done its part. It's time for the property owners to step up and do their part. Okay? Now, number 1 is beautification. We totally concur that it should be priority number 1. The town did it. But look at this for merchants. Curb appeal can count for 70% of first-time sales. We all travel. Have you ever said these exact words? That looks like a nice place to eat. That looks like a really cute shop. Let's go in. We're judging the book by the cover. And the town should do the curbside, but who's doing the facade side? Nobody. I mean, even in the winter, this is down in Tennessee. This is in the middle of the winter. These are all dried flowers and everything. This is Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia. One of the best towns in all of Canada. It even gives Canmore a run for its money. And it's a little town, like 2,500 people. Look at that. Doesn't it make you want to go in these shops? This is all Mahone Bay. By the way, you notice the colors? Woohoo! Some of that gray, beige, brown, and tan. You know? Does it make you want to go in? I mean, this town is next to Lunenburg, a National Historic Site. I'm trying to think of it. What do they call it?
UNESCO.
What's that?
UNESCO?
Yes, UNESCO. There we go. Thank you very much. Drawing a blank there for a second. And so it is a World Heritage Site. But let me show you something. Before, in this town of 5,000 people, the city did, in this case the city put in all the street trees and curbside. This was the facade side. Before, after. Retail sales went up by 1/3. This is the responsibility of property owners and merchants, not the town. If you want downtown to work, it has to be a true public-private partnership. It cannot work being a public-public partnership. You do have a couple, I mean, they did a pretty good job of putting displays outside, but look at this, it's bare. The town did its part, this is all gorgeous, but most of these merchants did very little. This is a spa. I mean, look at it, it's bare, stark, concrete. You know, it's just not attractive, it's not going to pull you in the door. You know, I mean, this is the challenge. I mean, it just, you know, you got nice facades and nice buildings, but it is stark naked. It's just concrete to brick. Nothing to soften it. And because of that, I mean, I don't even know what this is. Is it out of business?
Yep.
Okay. We're going through pre-order lunch. So what happens is if you're downtown, we don't know who's in business or who's not. The ones that are in business, we're going to know because they have beautification outside. You know how many businesses downtown have beautification outside? 2. And I'll show you those. By the way, benches should always be at the facade facing out. That's the one mistake you made. Benches should always be at the facade facing out, always. Just like on a front porch. Go to Fort McLeod. They put benches all down their main street with a pot on it because people always look out. They don't worry about cars behind them. So retail sales go up. Because you know, why do we put front porch swings and stuff on our front porch even if we never sit on them? It makes us feel welcome. It helps dress up your facades. Okay? Just so plain, I have no idea. You know, this actually did a little flower beds. I thought that was nice. Insurance company did a good job. Insurance company and the gift store. It is Gift Loft. They're the ones that did the outdoor displays. So there, but I thought, great, but boy, we need, if you could have a bench here and or you had a whole row of pots, I mean, just more. So you know what you could do? You could do what they did in Little Fredericksburg, Texas, which is a population of 10,000. You're about 8,000, but they don't have any big cities like Red Deer right next to them like you do. I mean, they're an hour and a half. They're an hour from Austin and like an hour and a half from San Antonio. You know what they did? They went downtown and they went to all the property owners and merchants and said, we want to just beautify Main Street. Just give us whatever you can afford. $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever you can afford. And so some people gave them $10, some people gave them $200. Somebody, I think, gave them $250. Then what they did is in October, they went to a nursery and said, we'll take all the pots you have that are left over, that you got to get rid of. We don't care whether they match or not. And we want you to dump them on us for less than what you paid for them, wholesale. The only requirement is 21-inch opening. Sorry, speaking feet and inches. 21-inch opening, because we don't want little ones that get broken and vandalized and everything. We want 21 inches. So then what they did is they went down there with a truck, bought a whole bunch of them, brought them back, lined them up on the side street, and told everybody, help yourselves. They didn't say, you only pay $5, you only get one. They just said, help yourselves. So this merchant grabbed these, this merchant grabbed some different ones. You can see this merchant grabbed a different look down there. You know, this merchant grabbed these two. Then what they did, because it was in like October, they paid the high school students, band, cheerleaders, hockey teams, people looking to raise money as you. And they said, they put in a gravel in the side street and topsoil and fabric. And they said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to put in the gravel, put topsoil, or put up layers of plastic fabric and put topsoil in them for the winter. And then we're going to give you pinwheels and dry decorations to put up in the winter. Beautification doesn't have to stop in the winter. I know they're in Texas, but it doesn't have to stop even in Canada. I mean, I've worked at Mont-Tremblant and Whistler and all these resorts, and they're beautiful in the winter. You know what? They never had one case of vandalism. You know why? Kids protect things they take ownership of. Then in the spring, they went and got plants. And by the way, 3/4 of the plants were evergreen. And so there was some left over, so this guy just did a whole collection of them. And so this is what their downtown looks like. Their retail sales went up by 35%. Just doing that. No changes, just doing that. And all of a sudden, people said, I want to move my business there. They went from about 20% vacancy rate to 0 vacancy rate. It is now the most visited town of under 500,000 people in all of Texas. Fredericksburg. Beautification pays. Number 2 are blade signs. And this is really important. Can you tell me what's in any of those shops? Here's what happens is, when we're in a car or on foot, we're coming downtown, we're seeing signs that are perpendicular to us. And you don't have them. I have no idea what's down there. There's no reason for me to keep walking down there or driving down there. I mean, can you tell me what's down that way? I can see Gift Loft just barely. That's it. I have no idea why I should keep walking down there. Or how about there? Can you tell me what's in any of those shops? How about any of those shops? How about any of those shops? You need blade signs. The only way I know what's in these shops is when I'm across the street. That's not very helpful. You know, or unless I walk out in the street and then look up there to see what's on the facade. So you know what? I've run into towns in Canada that have bylaws that do not allow blade signs. Change the bylaws. Because you need blade signs. That's what those are. Chocolate, collectibles, trains, restaurant. It tells you instantly what they're about. There's Nantucket. All the best towns in the US and Canada use blade signs. And if you keep them, you know, no lower than 2 meters, no higher than 2.7, no wider than 42 a meter, you do them consistent, And you'll have a nice look like that, Carmel, California. The best towns in US and Canada all have blade signs. There you go. And I mean, there you go, that's Banff. Here's Valparaiso, Indiana. You know what, I'll keep picking on them. As a good case history, there's Canmore. Canmore gets it. You have just as beautiful as downtown as Canmore. Yes, they got the Rockies, and they're close to Banff. But you know what, your downtown can be just as good. They don't have a Red Deer 20 minutes away with 100,000 people in it. Or a Calgary of 1.2 million people, fourth largest city in Canada, an hour away. Well, actually they do, they're about an hour and a half from Calgary. But, blade signs. Lethbridge, the wind capital of Canada. Well, Pincher Creek would argue with that. But, all these signs are built for 100 mile an hour, not clicks. Wind loads. And by the way, they were just putting these up when I was there. And so what they do is they put this there, and then they were just put these in. With the business change these things, and these change out with the business if the business should leave. And all of these are are welded, so it's solid. So you can't use that as an excuse. I've heard too many towns say we have bylaws that don't allow them. Well, why are you hurting your businesses? So you need to change that if that's the case. We got a whole video just on that. You know, and then signs like this. You know what? I gotta tell you. When you see that this is like a nail spa and it's called the Leg Man, if you're a woman, would that creep you out or what? Now, that's probably not the case, but seeing any business called the Leg Man, you're going. And you got to remember, women are making most of the decisions of where we live, where we visit. And so that kind of was a little bit creepy. We don't know what it is, but just having a shop called the Leg Man, we're going, okay. We didn't dare go in. And by the way, we're going, what happened to the rest of the sign? And so, you know. And then your number one tourist attraction. We did not go in. Because number one, we got just signs everywhere. I mean, it looks very, very cheesy. And it might be a great place in there. I have no idea, but we would not go in. Just look kind of cheesy. Okay? So, sidewalk cafe dining. You know what? You got to do this. And I know your sidewalks aren't real wide, so I'm going to show you how to get around it. But this is the future. Future towns. You need to do sidewalk cafes this time of year. And I'm going to show you what they do. I mean, this is in Covington, Kentucky, which is right next to Cincinnati. They get some pretty heavy winters too. But everywhere you go across the US and Canada, you're going to find places like this. Or these little cafe dining like this. I mean, this is Salem, Massachusetts. These are all silk flowers. I took this picture in like a March. And Massachusetts gets some pretty cold winters. But you know what? Canmore. Are you starting to get angry that I keep mentioning Canmore? But look at it. I mean, this is Canmore. This is Canmore. This is Canmore. When we saw 2 tables out there eating ice cream, guess what? We got in line. This is Canmore. There's no reason why you can't do it here. These are, you know, and their sidewalks are a little bit crowded, but I'm going to show you what you can do. Their sidewalks are a little wider than yours. These are all in Canmore. I mean, you wonder why Canmore's the best town in Alberta. They get it. And you know what? You can even exchange parking for dining. Yes. If you take away the parking, you're going to kill my business. If you hear that as a town. Because what I want you to do is give up parking to allow restaurants to do this like they did in Nelson, British Columbia. I took this in October. They were getting ready to take it down for the winter. I said, quick, let me take a picture quick. But in April or so, remember, they're the Rockies. They get a lot of snow, but starting in April, as soon as the last snow goes, they allow merchants to take up a parking space, put out these cafes, and then they take them away in the fall and winter. But they said, Roger, when we first started doing that, people started screaming and yelling, should you take away the parking from my store, you're going to kill my store. Here's your answer. Are you telling me your store isn't worth walking a block for? Use it. Shuts them right up. So, we'll fill Nova Scotia. Is that cool or what? This is what you can do. You don't have real wide sidewalks. In their case, they have in Nelson. You sit out here, and the pedestrian driver goes between you and the restaurant. Wolfville has the best model, and they do this all over Nova Scotia. What you do is they take up the diners are right on the sidewalk, so it's easier for the servers. And then your pedestrians walk around. They have to have a no-slip surface, and they got little reflectors here, and they let them take up to 2 parking spaces. There it is in Wolfville. You can see how they walk people around, and during the winter they put it all away. And they're doing this all over the province. And you know what? It slows traffic. It makes downtown a better gathering place. You should encourage your restaurants to do it. Heck, we worked in Barrie, Ontario, and I said, why are you guys doing sidewalk cafes? And they said, well, because the city doesn't allow it. The city said, excuse me, we do allow it. And one of the restaurants said, come up and try to get a permit. So I went to the City Hall and said, yeah, I'm from the British Arms, and I'd like to do cafe dining. You know what I found out? It took me 3 hours, and I found out it would have cost me $15,000 in 10 months in time just to get a permit to do that. I went to a city council meeting, and we changed it in 15 minutes. $250, you can get a permit in a week. And all you need is napkin drawings. It had a list. You have to put in reflectors. You have to have beautification. It has to be no wider than such. I mean, they just had a list. And so British Arms did it. You know, here it is. I took this early in the morning. They route the pedestrians around it. And they started doing this all over in downtown Barrie. And business in downtown, the first summer they did this, they had 14 restaurants do it. It's a bigger city. Their downtown retail sales services doubled. And then number 4, all-day parking. You know what? 2-hour parking is a good way to kill it downtown. I'm telling you right now, and you got it. You know what the rationale is? We cannot get our employees to park somewhere else, so we're going to punish our customers instead. Now, I got to tell you, right now, downtown, I can do everything in your downtown in 2 hours, pretty much. But I will tell you, went to the jewelry store and bought some. I bought a men's bracelet, and heck, he had a hard time getting it adjusted. And I kept doing this. Look at my watch. Are we going to reach our 2 hours? When people are doing that, they're spending less time and less money in your downtown. So, get rid of 2-hour parking or make it easy to park. If you're saying 2-hour parking, then you need to say all-day parking next right. Tell us where it is. Tell us where it is. There you go. That's what you need to do. And that's what they did in this town. Parking all day, left, right, or straight, and then 2-hour parking right here. Give us the alternative. And then number 5, extend your window displays to exterior spaces. This is Canmore. Funny thing! Extend your window displays to exterior spaces. Isn't that great? Now, this does not mean putting folding tables out there with stuff piled on it or a clothes rack. Because would you ever do a clothes rack? Thank you very much as I kick things on the floor. Would you ever go put a clothes rack in a display window? Of course not, then you don't put it outside. But that looks attractive. She probably goes to 20 minutes every morning to set that out there. Number 1, we know they're in business, and we know they're open, and you created a lure to pull us in the door. I mean, doesn't that look great? Your merchants aren't doing this, except one. You know, I mean, look at this. I mean, this lady, I watched this lady, she owns a florist here, and I saw her hauling these plants out here. This she keeps out here. And she was probably in her mid to late 60s. I said, "Ma'am, would you like me help?" She goes, "Oh, no. This is how I get my exercise every morning. I got it." And I said, "Does it really help your business?" She goes, "If I didn't do it, I'd look like my neighbor." She goes, "Ever since I started doing that, I have flourished." Get it? Flourished. Why aren't your restaurants doing that? They're not. This is near Auburn, California, near the Sierra Nevadas in January. She has an air curtain down here. And by the way, they get a lot of snow. They've got temperatures like yours. She has an air curtain down here, and all these are silk, by the way. It's in January. So that air curtain keeps the warm in and the cold out. We're open. And here's the big point. There you go. I knew it. You gotta wait for the guys. Yeah. There's always somebody that says, that's all. But they want to be in places that feel safe, welcoming, and beautification counts more for women than men. All your marketing should be catered to women. I don't care what kind of business you are, cater to women. And I'm not being facetious, it's a fact. So there you go. I love what this store did. Isn't that cute or what? You know what they hung right next to a door? A sign right there that says, your husband called, he said to buy anything you want. That's what you call a smart merchant. But I want you to see this next picture because this was not posed. Guys, been there, done that? I have 2 words for you. Thank you, patience. And they should be at the facades facing out. And flanked with pots and planters. Or window displays. I mean, it's that important. Give the guys a place to sit. And so, by the way, get rid of all these closed signs and do signs like that. I mean, when you see signs like that, well, this one is, I didn't show one here, but you know what? If we see we will be open, it's an invitation to come back. So when I see signs that say closed, we don't know whether you're closed for the hour, closed for the day, closed permanently. We have no idea. It just says go away. Get rid of closed signs. And instead tell us when you will be open. And then finally, critical mass. This is like businesses grouped together. Here's the biggest thing you need to do in downtown Innisfail. Is number 1, in 3 linear blocks, not square blocks, just 3 linear blocks. It could be this way, this way, and this way. It could be in a straight line like you have. You need 10 places to sell food. You don't have it. And they don't all have to be sit-down restaurants. You need 10 destination retail shops. Any of those. You're close on those. You got almost there. Remember, 3 little blocks, not 5 or 6. And at least 10 of those open after 6. You know what? If we come to Innisfail and we're doing the rodeo during the day, if we're doing the wildlife park during the day, if we're out there going to jungle farms and all that stuff during the day, the dam and all that stuff, and then we come back at night and you're closed, you're missing 80% of all the travel spending. And by the way, you have another problem in Innisfail. That's called leakage. It's people earning their money here but spending it in Calgary and Red Deer, or Costco is what, 20 minutes away? That's leakage. Towns that leak out more money than they bring in die. You're leaking out more than you bring in. A way to help stem that, because you know what, you're probably not going to get a Costco here. And you know what, can't help it. I mean, I would go to Costco too if I lived here. But you know what, tourism can help fill that gap. But you're not getting it. See what I mean? You're not getting the most of it. Because when they're done with the wildlife park, they come back to the hotel. Who wants to go to a Motel 6 and twiddle with them watching TV because your town is closed? Just saying. So, here's the deal. Downtowns, you must think like a mall. Consistent hours and days. Open into the evening hours. Like businesses grouped together. You need a couple of anchor tenants. You need a central gathering place. I mean, think about this. Antique malls do 10 times the business when they're grouped together. Auto malls. Why do you think you see auto malls? Heck, look at gasoline out. You have a whole bunch of hotels, a whole bunch of fast food, and a whole bunch of gas stations. Guess what? Everybody's going there. They got critical mass. I'll give you one example, and I know this is a bigger population, but Argyle Street, has anybody here been to Halifax? Yeah. Okay, do you know Argyle Street? It's where the Prince George Hotel is. Like, it's really steep up the hill. Lots of vacancies, hodgepodge mix. Not in Halifax, but on Argyle Street. Why would you leave the waterfront? Why would somebody go? They spent tens of millions of dollars developing their waterfront, so why would you go up to Argyle Street? Well, you know what? There's a guy that owned a restaurant up there. And you know what he decided to do? He owns this one. It's open. It's a Greek restaurant. You know what he did? Is he did 2 things. He started going to the other building owners, said, I really want to make this a restaurant row. You know what? You got a vacant space. If I recruited a restaurant into your space, would you give them a break for the first couple of years? Because I want to get a whole bunch of restaurants here to create a restaurant row. And most of them said, yeah, you can do that. Then he went to the city and said, city, our sidewalks are too narrow. Would it be okay if we lost the parking in order to allow people to do the sidewalk cafe dining? The city didn't say, are you kidding? The city said, look, if you're willing to lose the parking, people are going to have to walk up a steep street or they're going to have to walk down a steep street to get there. If you're willing to lose the parking, we'll lease it to you for $1 per business. We'll lease you the space. They took the chance. So he started recruiting restaurants. And by the way, they went and got a warehouse and they all get together and they store all their stuff in the winter. And for 6 months of the year, April, May, June, July, August, September, like in October, each restaurant does this. And it's kind of homemade. They do their little cafe dining. They extend this down here. You start recruiting in more and more restaurants. A little bit, you know, you can see what everybody did. And they started creating this thing, and all of a sudden, the place just came to life. The place is packed. As a matter of fact, Argyle Street does more business than the waterfront. And so they started doing this. Every business did this. I went back to the owner of Open and said, you did this whole thing. You know what he did? There are now 22 restaurants in 2.5 blocks. I said, you have 21 competitors. How's that working for you? He goes, Roger, I own 4 of them. And he goes, I'm doing 10 times the business I ever did before. And so they did that. And it started spreading. There's my favorite restaurant in Halifax, Five Fishermen. It started spreading around downtown. And even on those steep hills, look what they did. They had to create these layered ones. I mean, it is steep. You know? And look at this. They have 22 restaurants in 2.5 blocks. It is a major gathering spot, rivaling the waterfront. It is the place to hang out. The restaurants are doing very, very well. And Halifax and the province were planning to build a $400 million convention center on the water. It is now being developed on Argyle Street. Wow. It's under construction right now. Sometimes you have to orchestrate it. You know what? If you had 10 restaurants in downtown and 10 cool retail shops, you'd have people coming here from all over the area. Because you'd have an intimate film that they can't duplicate in Red Deer or particularly in Calgary. You know, and you got too many thrift shop and low-end shops. You know what that means? Is there's not enough people coming downtown, so the property owners can't get enough rent, so we're renting our spaces to churches and whoever can pay the rent. So you got to change that. So here, the most important rule you're going to hear. 787. Here's the first one. I already told you this one. 70% of first-time sales comes from curb appeal. And most of your businesses are doing nothing. You heard what I said about Superfund. Didn't look like a good place to eat. Went to Mythos because, you know what? It didn't look that great either, but you know what? The only choice was to go out to Boston Pizza or somewhere. And we wanted to eat local. There's the second one. And here's the third one that I haven't given you yet. This needs to stick in your minds. 70% of all retail spending takes place after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And you're closed. You got to change that. We even have a video that will show you how to do it. And so there it is. How to stay open after 6. You got to do that. There's a whole series. You've been watching a lot of videos, but you know, there's one about critical mass. There's one about downtown being open after 6. Here's one about bringing it to life. You need to have buskers and performers. You need to bring downtown to life. The town has done its part. It's time for the merchants and property owners to step up to the plate and do their part. Okay? There you go. Very, very important. You got the makings. You have a phenomenal little downtown. You just got to finish the job. And so, I want you to take a couple of trips. Okay, you're looking for something a little more exotic, right? Okay, they go up to White Ave in Edmonton, and that's spelled wrong. It's Y-H-T-E, or Y-T. Matter of fact, we're working in Old Strathcona. We did a whole series of ads. Well, I'll show you in a minute here. Okay, you want a little place further away? How about going to Nelson? I mean, okay, let's do this. Tell them, will you pay for this trip? We want you to go and see Mahone Bay. Road trip. Road trip, yeah! That'll be a flying and a road trip. Phenomenal province. Go look at these little towns. And why is it that people in Alberta keep telling me to go to Rosebud? It's an intersection. Everybody says it's on the queue. You can do that. So, the next thing I want to talk about is promoting your anchor tenants. I want you to promote the very best of Innisfail. The very best. What do you have here that if I lived in Red Deer, I would come here specifically for? If I lived in Calgary or even Penhall, that I would come here for? What do you have? I mean, I got a question for you. How many of you would go to Orlando if Disney World was not there? Raise your hands. One. That's it. Let's say it's January. Still get one. You know what? You just insulted 171 other attractions. Everybody knows Disney's the anchor tenant, but while they're there, they're going to go to Wild Kingdom, they're going to go to SeaWorld, they're going to go to Universal Studios. You always promote your anchor tenants. So we're working in a little town of your side called Alpena, Michigan. And I actually brought one of these brochures, so let me dig it out here because I was busy out there eating barbecue instead of getting ready. Which was great, by the way. And so, we always think you need to promote your anchor tenants, your best businesses. And this is Alpena, Michigan. It's this little brochure right here. And by the way, this was a public-private partnership. And they even used a quote from me on here of how they picked their best of. And you need to promote your best activities, your best attractions, your best retail shops, your best activities. And in this case, each one of them was invited. I'm even going to give you the criteria. I'm even going to tell you who should be in it. Okay? But here it is. Each one of these people were asked to be in it, and they were each paid $400 for their panel. It wasn't, who wants to be in this, would you pay $400? They picked the very best of Alpena, Michigan, population 10,000. And by the way, Alpena Shipwreck Tours, there's another one, Art in the Loft. And by the way, the Besser Museum couldn't afford the $400. There was enough from the other participants that they only had to pay $200 because they were really struggling. So what they did with this is there they are. And I'm going to give you the criteria here in just a second. And you need to do the same thing. This is the best brochure you can create. And they had sample criteria. For you, I would say they must be highly regarded by somebody other than themselves. TripAdvisor, Yelp, you name it. 80% positive reviews. There's always going to be somebody who complains. It doesn't matter what business you're in. So that's number one. They need to have good curb appeal. They need to be open year-round. And here's where I'm going to make an exception. With some exceptions. Because I understand that the wildlife park can't be open in the middle of the winter. Although the other day, yesterday, we were talking about how they could do that. And you know what? They would love to do it if they could. But, so sometimes you have to bend the rules. These don't have to be hard fast. And so, they need to be open at least 7 p.m. And they need to be open 6 days a week. They'd be closed on Mondays. I mean, you had to have some consistently. And they need to be unique to you. No change. You know what? I don't need to come to Innisfail to go to Subway. And by the way, so this is what you should do. Find these top 3 or 4. So here's what they did. They printed 20,000 of these. And they mailed one to every household. So about 6,000 went to all the households. 10,000 population. That wasn't even that many. 4,000 went to every household. They mailed this to every household with a little card. Here's what the card said, and I'm trying to paraphrase. The #1 reason people travel is visit friends and family. We hope you will hang on to this brochure so that when friends and family visit you, you will share with them the best of what Innisfail has to offer. Because we believe that every dining room table should be a concierge desk. Cool, huh? Within days, people started coming downtown with this brochure without even friends and family. They'd walk into the Stony Acres Winery and go, I could, for sure, how long have you been here? And the merchant will go, 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? Then you know what they did? They gave one of these to every hotel. And most hotels will not put these out on top of the rack. But you know what the number one asked question is of visitors in the world? Where's a good place to eat? Please don't hand me a list. Where would you go eat? Where's a good place to eat? Wouldn't it be cool if they said, well, you know what? Here's not only our best restaurants, but the best of Innisfail. This is the best brochure you could ever do. Because this is how you tell the world you have that great golf course. This is how you tell the world these things. So we took the liberty of picking a few. We don't know all of them. But you know, on that list, front and center should be Discovery Wildlife Park. The Golf Club. Edgar Farms. Markerville and the Creamy. It's a cute little town. Coffee Cottage. You know what? Ingham's Jewelers. You may go, well, what's so... That jewelry store is worth the drive from Calgary. Is it Arthur? Garth. His grandfather started that store. His sons are next in line to take over that store. We met Garth. Anytime I used to come into Calgary, I would come to your jewelry shop. We bought stuff in there. We were in there 2 days in a row. It's a great little jewelry store. And you know what? We sure like that better than the jewelry stores we're going to find at West Edmonton Mall or somewhere else. Because it's a family owned. Third generation. It's great. Great customer service. And you know, I mean, it was just great. Loved it. And got tons of gifts and everything. So, let me keep going. So we got the jewelers there. The gift loft. Absolutely fantastic. Worth a trip from anywhere in the whole area, whole region. Incredible gift shop. One of the best I've seen in Alberta. Incredible. Front and center. Amazing. Really good customer service there too. Superfo. You know, if they had some curb appeal, you know what? I don't know if you like Vietnamese or not. It was actually really good. It was very authentic. But here's the thing. We went in there Tuesday at 6 o'clock. All the lights were off. I said, are you still open? He goes, I turned the lights off because nobody's coming in. So he turned the lights back on, turned the TV back on. We had a great meal. And then one other couple came in. Locals don't hang out in their own downtown. Sad. Sad. But it was good food. Yeah, they need some curb appeal. Even when you walk in, you just kind of go, you know, mythos. And you know what? I may be wrong on some of these. But, you know, I mean, Centennial Park was great. Maybe you have one of your trails is so exceptional that you need to market it. You know, you really promote the theater, and I kind of went, I'm not so sure if I would put that, would I drive an hour from Calgary or even half an hour from Red Deer to go to a movie here? Now, I think it's great. I'm not putting it down, but remember, your anchor tenants, is it worth the drive from central Red Deer or Calgary or somewhere around? See what I mean? Is it worth that 45-minute drive? So that's why I didn't put it on. And so, you got to promote your anchor tenants. And you know, that's number one. But I think this would be your second one. How many are going? What? Let me talk about branding for a minute. You need to find your focus. What is it you want to be known for, Innisfail, when you grow up? What do you want to be known for? What puts you on the map? What differentiates you from everybody else? This is little Jefferson, Texas, population 2,500. It's in the northeast corner of Texas. They call it Oklatex. You know, it's the antique capital of Texas. Look at this. They have an antique dealer for every 20 residents. 70 buildings in their downtown are all, 70 shops in their downtown are all antique shops. People are driving 4 hours from Dallas to go there. And because they're spending the night, now they're the official B&B capital of Texas. So you know what you need to do in Innisfail? You need to do a plan. What is it you want to be known for? And what do you need to do so you own it? Brands are about ownership. And how do you tell the world? And the days of strategic plans are over. You need to do an action plan. And when you get everybody on the same page, pulling the same direction, you will go from this. Is this about right? They call it the Economic Development Express. Really flipping along, aren't they? But when you get everybody on the same page, pulling the same direction, you will go from that to that. So you gotta find it. So let me show you a few case histories. Canmore. Huh. Why would I bring them up? You know what? Population not much different than you. They're on the way to Banff. That's their claim to fame. You know what? They want to be more than a pit stop on the way to Banff. And you know what? They were a converted mining town. I mean, they really turned it around in 1988 Calgary Olympics. That was the beginning of the new Canmore. Look what they have there. More Olympics per capita, more Olympic athletes per capita than any place in Canada. Canmore. More climbers that have sung Mount Everest than any place in North America per capita. Home to the 88 Nordic Center. Look at that, Alpine Club of Canada. It's not in Calgary. It's not in Toronto. It's in Canmore. I mean, they built a $35 million multiplex with climbing walls and everything. Even sports equipment in local parks, dozens of sports right around. I mean, look at this. And they're going, what should our brand be? I go, well, look at your downtown. You're all full of the Ultimate Fit Center, vertical addiction, and here's sports experts, and there's a rebound cycle, and look at this is right downtown. That's their Centennial Park. And by the way, they'll have people in the middle of the winter wearing ski gear out there working out. 12 months of the year. Well, they're not in ski gear in July, but you know, they're out there working out. Look at what they're about. I mean, you know, do more, play more, live more. So we put together a campaign like this. Start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you're doing the impossible. This is about achieving more. That's what Canmore's about. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Or risk everything, fear nothing, live with no regrets. Or the key to keeping your balance is knowing when you've lost it, this is where you get it back. And my favorite one that I didn't put up there was the difference between try and triumph is a little umph. Get it? Is it any wonder they're Canada's mountain sports destination? People come from all over the world to go to Canmore. They're cleaning Banff's clock. Banff, unfortunately, went down the road of commercial factory tourism. You know what? When I was growing up in the Seattle area, San Juan Islands, my whole time I was in junior high, high school and everything, I wanted to go to the Banff School of Fine Arts. And then all of a sudden it became buses of people getting off to go into the Root Store, Starbucks, Sunglass Huts, and all the chains. Sad, sad story. Canmore? No more chains can come in there downtown. They have one Subway and a Rocky Mountain Soap Company, which there's 6 of, and it's Canadian. That's it. They're keeping it organic to Canmore. Old Strathcona. Yeah, this area, Coast University of Alberta, White Ave. You know what? It was starting to lose its uniqueness. All of a sudden, Dairy Queen came downtown. I mean, you know, they started, oh, we're losing. No offense to Dairy Queen. We get in trouble. But you know what I mean? They're starting to be, the rates got way high, and people started to lose what was cool about it. And so their brand is White Ave. That's what they are. Life of the Edmonton Party. You know what's really cool about this? This is all about, it's celebration. Celebrating good things in life, White Ave. You know what they're doing on the trash cans? You know what it says on the trash cans? They got really cool murals on them. It says white trash. W-H-Y-T-E. And down at the bottom it says, throw away your bigotry here. Their ads look like this. Tyler's birthday on white. It's all social media. It's very young. And by the way, people don't say it Old Strathcona. They say I'm going to White Ave. You know, I mean, that's what it looks like. University of Alberta graduate, time to celebrate. That's what this is about. They have a focus, and it's turning around. There's 13 business revitalization zones in Edmonton. We've worked in all 13 of them. You know, North America's largest fringe festival. 40,000 people, or maybe it's 100,000. Huge. That's what their letterheads and everything look like. There's their website, where we celebrate the good things. All about celebration. Look at little Devon, Alberta. Population just 6,300. Imperial are the first planned community in Canada. Now that you know that, how many go, woohoo, I'm going to Devon? Yeah, no one working for them. So you know what? Even people, I told this to Lloyd Mitchell, even people that work in the oil industry want to come home to something other than oil. People that work in ag industry want to come home to something other than just ag. So even though that might be what you're known for, that doesn't mean that you can't be something else. And that's the brand. This is not their slogan. That's what people think. They decided to become Bike Town, Alberta. And Janet Michelle championed the cause. I mean, they were so gung-ho. Liz remembers this because we did this at one of our brain camps for Travel Alberta. They went home and they got the city involved. They started stenciling, welcome to Bike Town. They have 30 kilometers. They're not trying to compete with Canmore, Banff, and mountain biking. They have 30 kilometers of paved biking trails, including some that go really steep. They call it Gear Grinder Hill. So what they want is people in Edmonton to come out on their bikes on the backs of their BMWs and bike Devon. Even for breast cancer awareness, they put these kinds of bikes all up and down Main Street. They even got counselors to wear Bike Town shirts, and they trademarked the word spokesperson. You know what Raleigh Bicycle said? Dang, I wish we would have thought of that. You know what Devon said? You help us build an indoor year-round velodrome, we will give you that. And they're now working on it. And you know what? TSN did a nationwide deal. The community with the most votes would win a $25,000 grant to build and design a bike park. Now here's Devon, 6,300, competing with Toronto and Vancouver and Calgary and every other big town in Canada. And they even had us in our office voting for them. And guess what? They won it. And they, within weeks, were designing it. And what's it look like? Grab life by the handlebars. You know, this is what it looks like. And there it is. Only a biker understands why Tom sticks his head out the window. Their wayfinding signage, when they get it going, will look like this. You know, they've already done the website. It's worked. And you know, last year was the tour of Alberta. And so then, by the way, there's the kids that the kids had us voting for it. When your kids champion your brand, how can you run away from that? And they built that bike park. And they can't even keep the bike gear in stock. And you know, when you did the tour of Alberta, and of course Red Deer was on that, and Edmonton, there were no little towns going to be on that, but they could not overlook Little Devon, Bike Town, Alberta, and they got stage 2. And people are now moving to Devon because their kids are in biking. St. Albert. Liz's hometown. Bigger town. Nice town. There's their claim to fame. Highest taxes in Alberta. How do you like that as your brand? You know what they say locally? It's worth it. They do. Sounds like a L'Oreal commercial. Because it's worth it. Challenge, they want to be more in the bedroom community. But that's what they're known for. So you know what? There's a family there you've probably heard of. The whole family. Lois Holt. Newest Provincial Park is right there in St. Albert. So we went over there, talked to Jim and Bill, the whole family, the kids. And they said, yeah, we have this really good nursery and we'd like to expand it. And I said, you know, with all the tree-lined streets, they already had a botanic park. We said, why don't you become Botanic Art City? The 2 fastest growing hobbies in North America, recreational biking and gardening. Why don't you be the Botanic Art City, cultivate life? You know what? Nolan Krause, the mayor, called me the other day and said, I hear you're coming to Innisfail. Can I come down and pitch him about branding? I said, I don't think I'm going to have time because you know what? I'm already out of time. Almost. And so, but you know what? If Jim Hole would have went and said, I think our brand should be around gardening, what would the people in St. Albert said? Of course you'd say that you're feathering your own nest. So if Doug here and his wife and family said, we think that the brand here should be Discovery Wildlife Park, you're going to say, of course, you're feathering your old nest. When I said it, oh, okay. And so they spent $300 million and built the Enjoy Center. Incredible. It's the nicest nursery and outdoor living center in all of Canada. Could be even in the United States. People drive to Calgary to go to the Enjoy Center. It is phenomenal. And what does their brand look like? Cultivate your own masterpiece. I mean, they have a whole series of this. Let's see if they'll show up. My presentation. Oh, let's go. There it is. Cultivate the musician in you. I mean, this is about cultivating life with the foundation of the botanic arts. And so they did a whole series of these, Cultivate the Chef in You. As a matter of fact, they probably have the best public market in Alberta. It beats the one in Old Strathcona, hands down. And it's just a pop-up market. Cultivate the athlete in you. I mean, everything they do follows this motif. And you know what? It is working big for them. Cultivate the kid in you. I mean, they did a whole series of these. As a matter of fact, if you go into City Hall or anything, you'll see these. Cultivate your dreams at St. Albert. They even have their brand promise right downtown. But you know, if you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk. So you know what they did? Cool thing. If you spend up to $5,000 beautifying your business downtown, we'll pay 50% of it, up to $2,500. Before, he actually changed the name, but this is before. You'll recognize the building. Before, after. His business went up 400%. Think beautification is worth it? And they've won national awards for their branding. And their gateway used to look like this, and it now looks like that. Vulcan. What can you say? You know, they were known for canola, 9 in a line grain elevators. I went out there and said, where's the 9 lines? I said, well, they're all gone. I said, well, yeah, I mean, you know, the challenge is they're getting dated and stale. I misspelled that there. You know, so why would somebody go to Vulcan? So you know what? We created the Prime Directive for them. And their brand promise is to become the most technologically advanced small town in Canada. Because Star Trek has only go so far. So they created this for their business development, all science, no fiction. You know, so their logo looks like this. And they're building these little pillars on at home. They're actually working with architects and Corning glass and everything to create the most technologically advanced home. And they're going to put a model home in downtown Vulcan. And the look and feel of all their ads look like this. Education, they're working on getting iPads in the hands of every student in Vulcan. I mean, and they're talking about the agricultural things that they're doing there. And you know, even things like the robotic arm was made, I think, up in Edmonton. But they're even taking that. Our technology is out of this world. I mean, so they're working on this. And what's really cool is they're leveraging Star Trek. You know, economic development, tourism promotion, community development. All science, no fiction. And look at this one. Resistance is futile for tourism. And then what was the bottom one? Yeah, live long and prosper. So this is what it looks like. Oops, didn't mean to do that twice. Here they all come. There they go. And so, you know what? You know, we were here, got to work with them right when CBS gave them the official title of the Star Trek capital of Canada. Pretty cool, huh? Matter of fact, Leonard Nimoy, before he died, vowed to put his photography in his galleries in Vulcan, Alberta. He read our plan, emailed us, and said, I want to do anything I can to help Vulcan, Alberta. He went and claimed it his home Vulcan town. His son is now carrying that torch forward for the town of Vulcan. If they can do it, you can do it. There's 12 activities. There's the best of us. Boldly go. You know, and that is what they're doing. You know, I mean, their pole banners are going to look like this. They're still working on all this stuff. But, you know, they had to build a product. We even thought along Highway 2, couldn't they do cool, you are 0.000238 light years from my home. And put that near Calgary. We actually figured it out scientifically. So it'll be fun. But you know what? They would even have Starfleet Academy. They got the uses of it. They could use the name, Canada Starfleet Academy. And you know, wouldn't it be cool if their downtown business went from that to that? Or from this to this? You know, think about it. What do you know Drumheller for? You got it. Okay, Vulcan? Star Trek? Okay, Canmore? I told her, come on. Mountain Sports, you got it. Cardston? Carriages? You got it. Whitecourt? They call themselves the snowmobiling capital of Canada. Don't know whether it's true or not. St. Albert? You got it. Botanic Arts capital. Calgary? You know what I told them in Calgary? So what you ran the other 356 days of the year. Oh, we're the New West. I said, oh, great. Stole that from Denver. They used the very same tagline. Okay, Banff. Shopping in the Rockies. That's sad. But that's what people know them for. Edmonton. They used to be the championship city, but when's the last time they won the championship? Excuse me. Devon? Innisfail? You got to answer it. Right now, there's your anchor tenant. Because when we came in, I couldn't figure out how this could fit a brand here. I'm not too sure what it is, why it's there. I think it's kind of cool, but I have no idea what's going on. And then we did see things like this, Walk on the Wild Side. I thought these were really cool. And so, here you are. Claim to fame, challenge, be more than a pit stop. What if you were Bears? Alberta's best public market. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun if you played with it? Wouldn't it be fun if you had perhaps more bears per capita than anywhere else in Canada? In one location. You know, you have 8,000 people and how many bears? 13 bears. You probably got more bears per capita living here than any other town. You know what I mean? Take an awful lot of bears per capita in Calgary. And then, you know, you got brown bears, black bears. He's not really an official Kermode bear, but I work up in northern British Columbia, which is bear bear. You do have a white one, a white black bear, right? And then Kodiak bears, I mean, you know, and then it's like, you know, maybe you have more movie stars per capita than anywhere else in Canada, and you start naming them. You know, I can't remember. What do you have? Is it Buddy? Is that, no. Oh, it's Whomper? Bonkers, Betty, and Ursula. I mean, you know what? Have fun with it. But it doesn't have to be a potato park. It just be bears. You know, I mean, and then that, up close and personal. I stole that from their website today. But you know what? You know that big, huge bear they have way off there? That should be right at the exit. You have the world's biggest bear right there. You know what? Every time somebody takes a picture of that, it's going to be posted on Facebook, social media, and Innisfail's going to be on the map. But the other part of that is you have a steeped in agricultural history. And you know, you've got so many things like Sun Gold, and you have all these family farms. This is near an apartment complex right here in town. You have all these little parks right here. You've got beautiful, you've got all these family farms. When I worked out near Lethbridge and all that whole area, those are huge mega corporation, Richardson and Viterra. You have all the little family farms seem to be gathered around you. What if you could create a place in downtown where you had something like this? What if you in downtown one location had 3 of these? Now let me explain this. These are all lit up garage doors. They're all glass panels there. It's all on a concrete slab. 3 sides. In the summer you can lift it all up and it's an open pavilion. And then you have public restrooms, the center stage. What if you had one of these right here? What if you had something like this, and this one is inside? But you know what? This could change. You have a center stage there. It could be farmer's market. It could be, I'm not talking about farmer's market, I'm talking about public market. It could host all kinds of events. I know Calgary has one. Hosts at 5 every day.
Like Westminster Key.
What's that?
Like Westminster Key.
Yeah, I haven't been to that one, but you know what? Rainbow Island. Good one. But I thought, you know, because what if you had 3 of those buildings right there? And these are, by the way, would be covered indoor. These would be covered, they'd be outdoors like trellises. So you could spill it outside. This could all be covered area. What if you had 3 of those buildings there? You had 200 vendors. You had permanent year-round vendors. You know what? It wouldn't take much, no offense, it wouldn't take much to blow away Calgary. It closes at 5. 70% of spending takes place after 5. The one in Old Strathcona is only open on Saturdays. The one there's 2 in Red Deer that are very well attended. But they're on Wednesday and Saturday. They're pop-up takedown. Nobody has, you know, and they're not the indoor type. And I thought, well, if that doesn't work, what if we did it over here? What I'm trying to do is take a couple of eyesores and repurpose them. But you can't just, you have to take them out because, you know, farmers, public markets need to be open air. They can't just be in a mall setting with fluorescent lights. I'm just throwing out wild ideas. What if they were right downtown? I can't remember what buildings are here on the corner. They're going to be really hacked at me now. Okay, so what if I took 3 of those buildings like that right here, and all these are covered outdoor areas, and you had a major market right smack in the middle of downtown? And it was a public market. And you might have times when there's no farmer's market in it, where you have ice carver shows, where you have chainsaw carver shows, and talk about chainsaw carving bears. What if you actually had wildlife exhibits in the winter in there? See what I mean? We're talking about flexible space, not just a farmer's market. It would be a pavilion. You could do Christmas tree for us. I mean, you could have all kinds of events and concerts. It could change by season. There you go. You can do all these things. New Year's festivals, ice carvers, romance festivals, you know, chainsaw car. You can do all these kinds of things there. Wouldn't that be cool if you had the place? You've got all these family farms here. They don't have a place they can come in your town. We have to go out to them, and then if they're not open, guess what? We don't go back. You know, so we just thought you could do art shows. I mean, gosh, nobody is doing this in Alberta. You know, I mean, look at that. Bear collectibles shows. How fun is that? So doing something like that and have multiples of these, and then in between them have trellises and outdoor. You can do car shows, motorcycle shows. You know, it would be cool. Even in Washington State, Olympia is an hour south of Seattle. And Seattle has the #1 public market in North America, Pike Place. Place they throw the salmon. But Olympia, look at this, they have 200 vendors. It's Thursday through Sunday. It's only open till 3. And look at what they get, $5 million. There it is. So it doesn't have to look like the buildings I showed you. Theirs looks like that. And by the way, these are just big doors that roll open. But you know what? People drive from Seattle, skip over to come to this one. Because you know, when we come to a public market or farmer's market, we'd like to go in the country where the stuff came from. This is where you beat the urban areas. You're in the country. You have country to live in. You've got these family farms here. And by the way, this one Olympia does an incredible amount of business. And it's not even that fancy. But this is all open air, open beam, artisans. You know, they have entertainment every single day. You know, think Granville Island. That's a good example. That's the troll under the bridge. But it's extremely popular. But guess what? It closes at 6. So wouldn't it be cool? There's Calgary. There's Old Strathcona. There's Red Deer. There's Red Deer. Okay? There is, you know, so I thought, well, what if you had one that was open year-round, 4 to 5 days a week? What if it was open from 11 a.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. so people have a place to gather? You know what? You're going to have people, you're going to have the youth coming back here, #1. You're going to create more jobs. A public market like this is an incubator. You're going to create jobs. Artisans, you know, all those kinds of things. A central gathering place. Entertainment every day. 1/3 prepared foods, 1/3 raw foods, 1/3 local arts and crafts. I mean, you know, 10 or so fixed vendors, which means permanent. They'd be there all the time. You can do wildlife exhibits in there. Visitor information could be in there. Public washrooms in there. I mean, you know, seating for hundreds of people. You can do concerts in there. You know, I mean, dozens of events. You name it. You know, and I'd love to see that big, huge bear right out there, right where people can really see him. Because all my times I kept missing him out there. And so I want you to watch this. And so you know what? I'm pretty much done. So what I'm going to do, here's what happens from here. I think what you have here is absolutely phenomenal. It's a stunningly beautiful town. The problem is, most of the people that come here never get 2 blocks off the freeway. And they're missing. Or they'll come in downtown and they don't go 2 blocks behind downtown. Or 2 blocks on the other side to the Visitor Information Center. Or to the lakes. They're missing it all. And so you could do this. What you have here is phenomenal. You've got the bones to work with. And it's going to take private investment. But you know what? You got to hang your hat on. And by the way, here's the argument here. We cannot use public money to promote private business. That's bull hockey. Because you know what? Can you imagine Orlando saying, we've got 172 attractions, including this major one, but we can't mention them because they're privately owned. But this that guy with the 2 ears? Can you imagine? Napa Valley, we have 232 wineries, but we can't mention them by name. Heck, tourism is about private business. You need to promote them specifically. And I don't care whether it's Edgar Farms, the Wildlife Park, you name them, you promote them specifically. Economic development is private business, not trails and lakes. That's the benefit of tourism and economic development, business. And that's tax base. And so, you know, your future is incredible here. You've got all the makings. And so what you're going to do, here's what's going to happen, is on Monday, I'm going to send this presentation to you. You're going to have it all. There's 60 things. Then we're going to write up a suggestions, findings and suggestions report, which you'll get here in the next 90 days. We have to put it all together. Okay? And with that, I gave you 61 suggestions. Remember, these are not recommendations. Well, Roger said we should be the public market capital and tie it with bears. I even thought, could we do Bear Fresh? You know what I mean? And they have fun with it. And by the way, don't even get hung up on taglines. But what do you have that would give people to drive an hour? I thought these family farms you have are phenomenal. I mean, I don't know any other place. We've worked out in Okotoks and all southwest Alberta and all the way up north of Edmonton and east, west, you name it, everywhere in between. And I haven't seen any place that had this many family farms this close. There were several out and down in Okotoks, but I don't think at this level. And I just think doing the farm fresh thing, people would drive here for that. And then you mix that with bears. So I'm not even talking about the wildlife park. Bears, people love bears. You know what? I'll never forget when Wainwright came and said, we have our brand. We're the Buffalo capital of Canada. I said, really? How many do you have? We have 17. They're in a pen over there by the army base. I went, you know what? I was just down in Waterton and I saw about 500 of them. You know what I mean? It just, you know, but here you got it. So I think you got to leverage them. And they didn't put me up to this. I just, when I came here, I went, this is something I wish I would have known about before. Hang your hat on it. But I'd like to see you work on the public market, Bear Fresh, Bear and Fresh, whatever you want to call it. But what you have is great. It's a great, great town. So, I got a few minutes left. Questions? Yes?
Okay, my whole thing is I want people to live here, not just visit here.
Absolutely.
Promoting just an attraction is not going to get people to live here.
But tourism is the front door to get people to live here. You know, oh yeah, here we go. The lights will warm up, so we won't get blinded. So this is great. That's the way they warm up. Here's the deal. Anybody who's going to live here is going to come here first as what? A visitor. So what does it take me to get here? So for instance, let's say I lived in Lloydminster or Vermilion. I could show you Vermilion. We've done so many brands in Alberta, it's unbelievable. Vermilion's doing really cool too. But if I lived there and I was looking for a place to live in the Calgary area, Calgary Red Deer area, I want to be central. And I said, but I don't want to live in the metropolitan area. I want to live in country living. I want some country living. I would probably look at Okotoks, which is south. I would probably look at Innisfail. But what would get me to even put you on the map? Because right now, I don't know what put you on the map. By the way, we worked on Leduc and all. I mean, there's so many of these towns. But if I came here to the wildlife park, or I came here for golf, but if I just come here and I get that exit, I see your low-end hotels, motels, and then I see fast food and a couple of malls that are not doing so well, don't look so great, and then I see a downtown that has a lot of vacancies, is really not alive, I'm not going to live here. But if you can get me to check out that, and then all of a sudden find that lake, or find Dodds Lake, and find those neighborhoods, then I'm going to say, this is the place I want to live. But I started as a visitor. Absolutely, you're right. But what do we do to get them to come in and check it out? That's why you need the wayfinding too. Once we get off the freeway, we need to know that there's more than just the Discovery Wildlife Park and just the golf club and what was the third one, the Historic Village. But you're absolutely right. We need to get people to live here. But by the way, I saw an awful lot of new homes under construction.
Because that's what you liked about it.
I did.
Simple beauty.
Yep. Not overgrown. No high rises.
And I came from somewhere bigger.
Yeah.
I like the small town feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's what Innisfail needs to do, and then focus on the attractions. We do have the attractions. Like, why would you live in Orlando? You don't live in Orlando just because you can go to Disneyland, because you only go there a couple times
Right.
and it gets old.
Right. And so here's the scoop. When you do this, when you talk about, we want people a place to live, first of all, you need to get on the map. Disney puts them on the map. Napa Valley puts wineries put them on the map. You need to get them on the map. Right now, you're not on the map as a town. And by the way, every single small town in Canada, we've worked in every single province. I mean, I was just in Saskatchewan a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, we've worked in 40 places in Ontario and worked in Nova Scotia for 10 years. Every single small town says, our brand should be small town. We're small town, we're quiet, we're quaint, it's safe. That's what everybody wants to be Mayberry. It has to be more than that, because that's what every small town says. And I've heard it right here in Alberta. So what puts you on the map so that when we say we're looking for a place to live in central Alberta, and by the way, you know, actually Edmonton is probably central Alberta. You know, everybody thinks it ends at Fort Saskatchewan. And anyway, but if I said I want to live down in the greater Calgary area, I got 150 towns to look at. I can go to Grantham, Stavely, Claresholm. I mean, you want to go Pincher Creek, you know, Carson. I mean, all these towns, Lethbridge, High River, you know, we could keep going down the list. What sets you apart from all of those? They're all small, quaint towns, nice town, hometown feel. What puts you on the map? And if it takes them to put you on the map and get us to check you out, and then we discover your new residential, your new neighborhood, your lakes and everything, then we're going to go, this is the place. Just like we went out to Margaretville. And my wife said, if we're going to live out here, I'd move to Margaretville. It's so cute. It's so charming. We would have never found that if it hadn't been for Innisfail. See what I mean? Makes sense? But you're absolutely right. If you can get people to live here, and by the way, you are getting people to live here. They're finding the small town charm. They're loving it. And by the way, I'm not suggesting you go away from that and all of a sudden have Hilton hotels out there and high rises. That's not who you are. I don't think there'd be anybody for that. I love the fact that these are family farms and not the big mega corporations, by the way. I think it's cool. I think it's cool to go to a wildlife park and you meet the owners. You know, that's pretty cool stuff. Any questions? I don't mind hard questions at all.
I don't have a question, but I just joined the chamber here. I'm from Sherwood Park, but Victoria originally.
I know Sherwood Park too. St. Albert's competition.
Yeah. And we came here because we fell in love with the area. We're out at Gleniffer Lake, and I am looking forward to getting to know all of you. I'm actually a glass blower by trade.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm a tour director as well. So this really hits home for me, and I would love to partner up and maybe do demos and help some business. It would help me set up. My studio got ruined in the hailstorm.
That would be.
I don't have one, but I'd love to partner up with a business for the summer months, and if I could do that.
Yes, you're a perfect place for that.
Come on down.
What's that?
Come on down.
Come on down,
But,
yeah.
I mean, if I
Well,
could
she's-
teach glass blowing, like flame
Yeah.
working,
Art
that's a
is
huge draw. Huge draw.
Huge draw. People want to learn something. Remember I said about transformational experiences? Absolutely. Think about the multi-generational. Oh my gosh. We would absolutely come just to do that. See what I mean? But wouldn't it be cool if you had a market somewhere? And I'm not suggesting you even go down that path. I'm just trying to give you a couple ideas. I want you to think, what puts us on the map that's different or better? That's your choice. You have to be different or better. And I think it needs to be more than just a wildlife park, because I think that natural beauty, the farms and everything, really are more of the soul of you as a community than even the wildlife park. But I think you can combine those. What's that?
What about trading off on the name of the wildlife park and just going with Discovery or Discover?
Well, you know, I do workshops, and in my list of words and phrases to avoid is discover is number one. Explore is number two. And here's why. And I'm not putting her down because she's really right. The problem is, I have this list of words and phrases. I have posters I hand out at conferences. There's 48 words and phrases on it. And the only problem is that they're so overused they've come to not mean anything. And so even for Discovery Wildlife Park, I told, yesterday I told Doug, you know, I think it was you, Doug, I said, you know, you need to do a hashtag. The hashtag should not be Discovery Wildlife Park. It should be Bear Wild. Hashtag Bear Wild. You know, something that evokes emotion. Because the problem is discovery and wildlife and park, you know, it's long, and I would suggest they change their name. But, so you have to just be careful. But, I mean, you're on the right track. And remember, I don't want to think of taglines. I want to think of what is the activity that makes you worth the drive for an hour from Calgary? And more than once. That will come back and do it over and over and over again. And if we can get people to do that, maybe they will discover this town more than what they see at the surface say, I want to live here. Because that's what you did.
Yeah, I moved here because it was a small community.
And turn behind you, same thing. You're right, exactly right. I think you need to maintain that. That's why I like the whole farm fresh idea. And by the way, that is a huge growing trend, is farm fresh. We'd like to see your restaurants get into that. They're doing it in Canmore, and they're not agriculture out there. So they're doing, yes.
I like the idea of your big indoor market that can expand to the outside and start incorporating people like yourself that have like an artsy type of business.
Absolutely.
Bring it to Innisfail, sell it, promote your classes, get people out to your farms. You're the jungle farm, you could be, bringing in that fresh produce and selling probably 10 tons as much as you would.
The cool
Get
thing,
people out there, it's hard to say, but.
the cool thing about public markets, remember, I'm not talking farmers market, I'm talking about public market. It is a business incubator. We hope that she would come in there and she could get a glass blowing studio that costs her, $50 a day or a week or whatever it is. It's inexpensive. And then we're hoping that she does so much business that she moves into an inline store downtown. It's the best incubator you could possibly have. And remember, 1/3 is locally made, homes, crafts, those things, not made in China, no flea market. And so these are great opportunities. And it's always changing. And by the way, when it's not the produce season, it's no farmer's market, it's something else. So it's flexible space. That's why we call it the pavilion. You may have certain vendors, you may do arts and crafts shows that last a month. And they're all within this area. And by the way, you can even say, and by the way, they have to be within 30 clicks of Innisfail. That way people have incentive to actually live here and produce here. So we're not bringing in fresh produce from Okanagan Valley in BC, or in Saskatchewan or somewhere. It's all local. You got it here. These are just ideas. Please remember, this whole thing is to be the conversation starter. That's what I'm here tonight. Start the conversation. This is the baseline. Your next thing is, what is it we want to be known for? What's the product that backs it up and makes us different? And then how do we tell the world? Yes?
I've got one question. I get what you're saying, and the wayfinding signs. You were showing us tourism wayfinding signs. What about service business or businesses? We own a service business.
Yeah.
What about businesses that we're not tourism, we're not a restaurant,
Yeah.
we're not whatever, but I'm off the main drag, I'm not on Main Street, but I want people to find me.
And wayfinding can do that. And it doesn't always have to be tourism, because including your wayfinding should be police, fire, town hall, post office, things like that.
But how do you not get your whole street with all these signs going? Like Joseph.
You can't.
Where do you draw the line?
What you do is you'll do things like hotels, arrows both ways. Rather than list, here's Super 8, here's Best Western, here's this. You just say hotels, retail shops, service businesses. So what you do is if there's 2 or 3 of you, that way you have more, and you just say, or you can even do this. I've seen this in downtowns. Well, they'll say, we have a restaurant here, and then there'll be a sign that says more to explore. And that gets people up the side streets. Because even coffee, I always want to say connection. Coffee Cottage. It's not right on the main drag, you have to look there. But even if you had signs that said more to explore, and it wouldn't list the businesses. Because you're right, you can only have 5 items on one sign. So you have to have multiple signs, and you can't have them, there's certain federal highway standards in the US and Canada you have to live by for signs too. But there are ways to do that by just saying services, additional services this way. And then we might have several of you down there. And then when you get closer, then they'll see you, But the thing is to get them off the main drag. Right now, I'm afraid to get off the main drag because I end up in residential communities. I get lost back there. And you know what I mean? It's not like you're on a state grid pattern once you get off the main drag in Innisfail. But there's ways to do that. We have a guy on our staff that just does wayfinding sign. It gives me a headache of what he goes through to do that. We just designed one for St. Albert, and we did one for Vulcan County, and it's as much a science as it is an art. So there are ways to do that.
Yes, Innisfail is probably one of the only communities on Highway 2 that doesn't have a welcome to Innisfail sign. If you go up and down the highway, there's welcome to Gary.
Yeah, Gasoline Alley. I just went, are you kidding? Yeah, big old welcome signs. I'm going, but you know what? It works. You know who they are.
Yeah. So my question is, those are all they're not all the same, but they're all pretty generic, and they really don't stand out.
But what, you know, and you do have the reader board out there, which I think is good, tells you what's coming. But I think you don't even need a sign that says welcome to the Innisfail. If you had that big bear, matter of fact, if you had that bear and you could make him look more like a bear so you don't actually see the machinery, you know, because right now you don't see him, he's got shrubbery and everything. You had that bear near that exit somewhere there behind the Best Western, oh my gosh, people are gonna pull off just to take a picture of it. I mean, so sometimes it doesn't even take the major gateway. And I thought your Innisfail sign, you know where it is once you come down there, once you turn right, I thought it was in a good location. It's just the sign, just kind of a concrete bunker, it's not really that attractive. But I think that's easy to fix and everything. So sometimes, you know, gateways can be $1 million. I mean, look at Old Strathcona and, I don't know, Liz, what was the one for downtown Red Deer? I mean, fortune. You know, so I just, what you want to do is get people to stop. And if they notice you, then maybe they'll come and check you out. And if they check you out, they're going to say, wow, this place is really cool if they go dig a little bit.
And that was the point I was trying to get. How do we be unique enough on the highway to get some of that 1.9 million vehicles a month?
Oh, you
to
get the
pull
busiest highway one of the busiest highways in Canada. And you rival the 400 that goes from Toronto north. I mean, you know, it is between Calgary and Edmonton. Are you kidding? And you got to get people to stop. And I think something like that. I think your idea, doing the bear that goes up, you know, you got to keep them working though. You went out there the other day, so that thing working. But anyway, but doing something like that, that's going to be a photo. I'll give you one example. We did the Cabot Trail, one of the world's 10 great drives. They were arguing over the gateway signs of the Cabot Trail, fighting over it. They finally called me up and said, we are having a fight over whether it should be welcome to the Cabot Trail in Gaelic, in French, in English, and in all 3 languages, in what order. I said, I don't want you to do any of that. I said, I want you to put, welcome to the world, I just put, welcome to the world famous Cabot Trail in English. It is photographed 365 days a year. Just Google world famous Cabot Trail. You'll see their signs thousands of times all over the web. Because people take their picture next to a sign that says world famous. If you have the world's largest bear, people are going to take their pictures of it. They're going to post it to Facebook. They'll use your hashtag. They'll go, wow, we're here. And then if you have wayfind that says, by the way, we have fantastic downtown. We've got 2 or 3, 4 lakes here. We've got the public market. I'd love to see that public market, by the way, close to downtown if you did it. You know what I mean? So it's right in the middle of the hub of things. But that's all you need is you need to get something that's going to feel stop. Because right now, I've driven by Innisfail so many times, never stopped. Never gave me a reason. If I would have seen that bear, you know, I probably would have stopped and said, what the heck, I'm going to go get a picture of that. You know, and I can see him on 2A. How many people are on 2A? That's how we get between here and Gasoline Alley. But most people don't know that. Make sense? Well, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. And thank you so much for coming out. Thank you very much.
Community garden.